geller on de arphone hedig whiter selfitted hynny, a finago midro, v brainted ophonid a broderietha thruided oimrosin henid, can y bimir y elfidadu hynny diladogen abrianidogen gulidishinidal. V/F44. Trilinod ciferedin YSYDD, ACNIS geller YNDD urban neb binig, SEF in gorsid baird, YNLLYS gulid ACRL wide, AC in hyfarchwal gali quad. 45 ter prip ball AC ardal gendal y oimri widalit EU sinal in gorsid baird YNYS priden. Cineaf carat breenan o jimrosin huinal dash carat tie. Truided pumer yradian I bob oimrosin henid oin huinal trydydd brained oirchsin hired I bob oimro oinhenid yn afinoparth gulid agorulid YNYNYS priden heb wrth heb wahard, sid na. Carat bo arfad ei law, acbebr na na ball na ahinlin parth betha o hi frith, adild y brainy hynni gendal y/oimri, can my eddent highway o gsifan ansod, a meddiant, a broderieth ywynys priden. 46 ter prip amkin baird ynys priden o gsifan carat defod dos barth gwiboda eth ac adisk amlogia sophiani, der carat a shinal heduch. 47 terford wysen heller sophion fardonia eth baird ynys priden, seftrwy defod gorsid, lafar gorsid, a chan gorsid. 48 triohof baird ynys priden, Uf defod, Kof kan, a chof lafar gorsid. Eaw uf defod, Kof kan, a chof ko elbrin. 49 trifurfard gorsidog ysydd, perfard pendant elwer hefid yn fard braint a thruididog braint, a bard truididog a deerwid ac afid. Bardism, and metallurgy. Those three arts are privileged, and cannot be followed by anyone but a gentleman, and whoever knows them is entitled to the privilege of nobility, social rights, and the maintenance of an innate oimro, for those arts are adjudged to be noble, and privileged arts of country and nation. 44 There are three common places of protection, in which no weapon can be raised against any person whatsoever, namely, the gorsid of bards, the court of country and lord, and the precincts of worship. 45 There are three principal claims and avouchments of the nation of the Oimri, which ought to be supported in the gorsid of the bards of the Isle of Britain. The first, a king who is a free bom Oimro. The second, the fruition of 5 free acres for every innate and free bom Oimro. The third, the right of progress for every innate Oimro as far as he likes in respect of country and border country in the island of Britain, without let and without hindrance, as long as his hand is not about to strike, and as long as he has no claim or is not sued, in respect of oath and law. These privileges are due to the nation of the Oimri, because theirs in right of original condition, possession, and community, is the island of Britain. 46 The three principal objects of the bards of the Isle of Britain, in virtue of original usage, system of knowledge and learning, to manifest justice, and to maintain peace. 47 By three methods is the genuine bardism of the bards of the Isle of Britain maintained, by the usage of gorsid, the voice of gorsid, and the song of gorsid. 48 The three memorials of the bards of the Isle of Britain, the memorial of usage, the memorial of song, and the memorial of the voice of gorsid. Others say, the memorial of usage, the memorial of song, and the memorial of Ulbrin. 49 There are three presiding primitive bards, primitive bard positive, who is also called bard of privilege, licentiate of privilege, and licensed bard, druid, and ovate. Eaw tri rhyw preferred ysydd, bard brained ogisefin gaffialiad, deerwood wrthbwyll ansod de gorfod, ac afid, wrth imgaius, dychymyg adike wane. 50. O drip hate y cafwid bardonia ed, aen o da, jis carat dine, a syrth at hyen. 51 Ter braint baird ynys priden truided oga eth hevelodt, bod ger eu ger highway ar bob, acnas diger arf no et hebident. 52 Ter Kane Adisk Bayard Ynys Priden Bardonia Eth, Acarhynnnyy Masinal Defod, a Lafar, a Chan Gorsid Acmau Iwadrayathan, Dearwidoniath Acar Dearwid Y May Disku Acathrai Iathu WRTHBWYLL Ansad de Gorfod, Acafidi Iatha Mind WRTH carat Gulad. DYCHYMYG Adam 1 asterisk 53. Trifetha delay bard eu gonanthur, Grindo, Edric, Aquila, Grindo disquil, Athui, 54. Quil 92. Tridine nis geller Bayard o Henant, Diog, Balch, Akelwidog. 55 Trip hata delay bard eu Kadam how, Gwiboda eth, Quiriant, Aheduch. 56 Trip hata delayed fard, Sef Gwelhaum Wiho Gwiboda, Larry Idio Mosa Shinev, Adidnomedwil. 57 Tierford y Gradir Bard, Sefy Engentaf Gradu Bard Braint o Droftiga eth nu inthu Obybydd undid a blwyddyn, Dearwid a Redir o Fam Gorsid WRTHF Omyave Gangoyul Bran Acafid, O Fard Braint Gorsidaga D Wet O Areai Guide Wibid y Geller Bard ORGWR. WRTH Imgaius. 58 Gwil 60. Tri Gwinidity and Gwiboda eth Bayard 1 al, the Eni. 2 al the voice. Others say, there are three kinds of primitive bards, bard of privilege in virtue of original appointment, druid, according to reason, nature, and cogency, and vid, according to exertion, imagination, and contingency. 50 From three things has bardism been obtained, a when from God, the intellect carrot of man, and the disposition of nature. 51 The three privileges of the bards of the Isle of Britain, maintenance wherever they go, that their word should be paramount, and that no naked weapon be borne where they may be. 62 The three branches of learning of the bards of the Isle of Britain, bardism, on which depends the maintenance of the usage, voice, and song of Gorsid, as well as the regulation of matters, druidism, it being incumbent upon a druid to teach and instruct according to reason, nature, and cogency, and ovadism, which has to do with the sciences carrot of country, imagination, and contingency. 53 Three things which a bard ought to do, to listen, to look, and keep secret. Al to listen, to expect, and to be silent. 54 Three persons who cannot be made bards, the idle, the proud, and the liar. 55 Three things which a bard ought to establish, knowledge, truth, and peace. 56 Three things which a bard ought to do, namely, to improve and extend sciences, to soften morals and habits, and to solace the mind. 57 In three ways is a bard graduated, namely, first, a bard of privilege is graduated after discipleship, or after the notice of a year and a day. A druid is graduated by the decree of Gorsid, according to a majority of votes, and an ovate is graduated after a presiding bard shall have affirmed upon his word and conscience that the candidate may be made a bard. 58 The three ministers of knowledge of the bards of Ynys Priden, Nid Amgen Od.D, Orwid, Alllythyr, Agoru y Bernir Cnn, Mnasbydd Acos Naman Wrthy Dine Ai Disgoar Goff Heb Na Gwyth Law Nhl Fitted, Agalunind Ogan Ar Dafod Achof Oddyniddyn, Acoolid Iolid, Acooes, Heb Amgen Iginal Nhofadil, Ac. Nis Geller Hynnnyar Erwid Llythyr. Mhynnny Gorusinal Achadway R Wiboda YW Can WRTH Frainta Defod Gorsid. Gwil Rip 59, M69. Trigwinidian Gwiboda Eth, Can, Brute, Llythyr, Agoru Can Ybydd Hodaf Ei Disque I Kofio, Acyn Hodaf Ei Nuid Iugru Mei Bod WRTH Osidiyat Thrifn Herwid Selfitted WRTH Gerd Amesu Ra Pridedieth, Acos Hynnyn Hepker I Fard A and Achelfitted WRTH Gerd Afridedieth. 60 Trigwinidian Adisk. Ken, orwid, alllythyral can obrydyd, orwid orwid fard, alllythyro bob fard. 61 Tri frifri trio ed ysYddar fraint a defod gan feared ynys priden, sef trio ed braint a defod, trio ed barddas, a 3o ed surd. 62 Tri otterdotdith vashi frith, ei roy ar ostegar but undid a blwyddyn imhob llys alan yny scythe, ai roy wrth rith golidishinital sefywhnwllw trichanan o gyriate golidachif the fob anadant year wr sifel we o bensinital, ai roy wrth fam. Carat a preceptive bard, a teaching bard carat dash Dr. Opagay asterisk 8 diet tuch qui hosferdian. Be silent, yet teachant bards, busselbaird. Tn hot fardy ba farda fo, asterisk be hide bizid rabud ei bodo, a thrwybwysuyr obchad grad ogent ou grade de gad. The Isle of Britain, namely, song, symbol, and letter, of which song is considered the test, because there will be need only of the person who commits it to memory, without manual labor or art, and because a song can be conveyed by means of the tongue and memory from man to man, and from country to country, and from age to age, without anything to support it other than memory and understanding. This cannot be the case with symbol and letter, therefore, the best means of maintaining and serving sciences is song, according to the privilege and usage of Gorsid. 59 The three ministers of knowledge, song, chronicle, and letter. The best is song, inasmuch as it is the easiest to learn and remember, and the most difficult to alter and corrupt, being arranged and ordered according to the art of song and the meters of poetry. Wherefore, awen and the art of song and poetry are indispensable to a bard. 60 The three ministers of instruction, song, symbol, and letter. Al song by a poet, symbol by a herald bard, and letter by a post bard. 61. There are three kinds of triads under privilege and usage by the bards of the Isle of Britain, namely, triads of privilege and usage, triads of bardism, and triads of song. 62 The three authorities of statute and law, there being published under the proclamation and notice of a year and a day in every court and church in the territory, there being submitted to the verdict of country and nation, that is, the oath of 300 true men of country and territory, each of them being an efficient man and head of kindred, and there being submitted to the judgment of court a didati bard, whatever bard would be, on the fingers it is necessary to question him, and through the weight of a solemn interrogation degrees from their source were given of your pound dm pris. 70 Baint a defod. Elegies ac in ad herwid ybo /llys gandifod troskoff, muntir gorid imhob nno der talaith jimny, gaufamu wrth gaffa defod achadniad gorsid allys. 63, ghnl riv 96, ter otterdot serd dafod guidi yddelo in agorsid jifalwi jifi under iatha shaniata eth. Can na jeller kuda amgen herwid braint yprydydd carat jifi under ystYrae amkan, can nas delit barnu amgen herwid ger sidewibid yprydydd, a braint o fam gorsid jifalwi acnis delit ei grithib herwid. Ger a brainy abaird ynys priden. 64, 6 wel riv 93, ter gworsov, guarant, ysydd gala bard oneb on ger bard gorsidog lanalingard, a diweto areira guide wibid y jeller bard ov carat a fino find carat dot ger dudeg ogyy gulad as carat. /rth fraud a ratheme raint gymry jinhanid a ger pena eth gulad nuan as llys, a diweto ydalit pabuldiga eth ary neba fino fod yn fard mei fod yn gyriad gulad o phonid a braint a bod rhyddhynny idogan ei arlwide. 65 Tri ghyff janadl. Bard, inad, a thajim asterisk, diamond suit ie team, 66. Gwilriv 88. Tri ghyff rwym gulad, bard as ignidia 8th carat athamid. Al. Tribano junguladrideth NC 67. Ter dilds wide geolado gud bard moli dayanus adiska ginjora shinal goffa chadway rai derper. 68 Trijo el baird ynys priden goff olafar gt, read therwid adar la either ac iskrif. 69 Trip hata delay bard and dat gan ingorsadim rain gendel ygymry and gofen gantho, sefywhynny1 al. To attach himself to song. Al territory sanadal serd siranid jimhanjemian was heb gas beb jinan. The competition of sodg, among witty friends, splendid talent, without battered, without strife. And judge, as the court may be from immemorial usage, in 3 gors eds, in each of the 3 provinces of Oimru, judgment being formed according to the memory, usage, and confirmation of Gorsid and Court * 63. The 3 authorities of vocal song, when it shall have been sanctioned by an efficient Gorsid, correctness of language and versification, for what is otherwise cannot be admitted according to the privilege of a poet, correctness of meaning and object, for what is otherwise ought not to receive judgment from the word of a poet's conscience. And privilege received from the judgment of an efficient gt, are said, and they ought not to be contradicted, because of the word and privileges of the bards of the Isle of Britain. 64 There are 3 warrants in virtue of which any one may be admitted a bard, the word of a presiding bard of poetic lineage, who shall say upon his word and conscience that the one who desires to be a bard can be made a bard, the word of 12 true and loyal men of country and na. Shin judicially and legally pronounced under the privilege of innate cymry, and the word of the sovereign of country or judge of court, who shall say that the one who seeks to be a bard may receive a faculty, because he is a loyal man of country in respect of descent and privilege, and that his Lord gives him that freedom. 65 The 3 stocks of competition, a bard, a judge, and a king. 66 The 3 mutual bonds of a country, bardism, judicature, and kingship. Al. The 3 characteristics of government, NC 67. The 3 national duties of a bard, to praise the good, to impart instruction and advice, and to preserve the memorial and record of what is worthy. 68 The 3 credibilities of the bards of the Isle of Britain, the memorial and voice of Gorsid, symbol and picture, and letter and writing. 69 3 things which a bard ought to recite in Gorsid under the privilege of the nation of the Oirari who dat gan pinchi avi lay thoim rig. A brainy and a defodan baird ynys priden, a brainy a defoda indal v oimri o tier ned. 70 Tri shafamdod baird ynys priden, ger, llythyrac erwid al. Gererwid, either. 71 Tri dina fident danjai ferwies golad, bard inadamulr. 72 Tier sifat gan baird ynys priden surd, damega defod. 73 Tri bone thoifraith, oid wibad gwir agorfod. Al acos tri devnid pogdith vashi frith gwiriant gwiboda etha ohide wibad al gwiriant dysg ohide wibad. 74, Quilriv 95, Tri crayer towing a bridabaird ynys priden. Y den gerdith evangel lenin acyn nabhala goli uni a.w. Y den gerdith evangel le uin a bard ynd weeded areirai guide wibad il/bard. Ac inad, a gwr wraith, ynd weeded areirai guide wibad, 3 crayer or de brida 76. Tir adisk arbaniga gafaz genital y oimri, Sintaf erYnoes esod ed y gwiden ocyn nog amzer priden abid mar. Ale ed bardas fale I diskid gan y baird gwidi ar kafi aliat o henan trydyddy pound dd ing reist ynro or tir. Sefyn gentaf y buletin ar gwiden o yn bendodi and ac thro one sendel y oimri, a gwidi dodi brained a defodidant yn amzer priden abid mar, du sd w. D d amant, a dodi bardas ar a wypynt, acnidoesnh off na gwibad my gwiden o naman enw tidane tad on. Year hwn una ethger jimrag jintaf ariod, ACO I gerd fy kafwid deal goru ary barddas a bardonaya eth, ACO 1 al learning. AI. Belief / al the name bards was bestowed upon them. May require it of him, that is to say, to recite the points of the Oymrio language, the privileges and usages of the bards of the Isle of Britain, and the privileges and usages of the nation of the Oymri, and their sovereignty. 70. The three rudiments of the bards of the Isle of Britain, word, letter, and symbol. Al word, symbol, and letter. 71 Three men who are entitled to the endowment of country, a bard, a judge, and a warrior. 72 The three primary descriptive mediums of the bards of the Isle of Britain, song, allegory, and usage. 73 The three stocks of law, conscience, truth, and cogency. Al and occasion. The three materials of every right and law, truth, knowledge, and conscience. 74 The three relics of oath, and asseveration of the bards of the Isle of Britain, the 10 Commandments, the Gospel of John, and averment in the face of the sun and light. Others say, the 10 Commandments, the Gospel of John, and a bard declaring upon his word and conscience. According to others, a bard, a judge, and a juror declaring upon his word and conscience. 75 The three especial instructions which the nation of the Oymri obtained, the first was that of the Guidoniaid before the time of Pridon, son of Ed the Great, from the age of ages. The second was bardism, as taught by the bards, after they were instituted. The third, the faith in Christ, which was the best of the three. That is to say, first, the Guidoniaid were the principal philosophers and teachers of the nation of the Oymri, and when privilege and usage were conferred upon them in the time of Pridon, son of Ed the Great, they were called bards, and what they knew was designated bardism. There is no memorial or knowledge of the Guidoniaid, except the name of Tidane, the father of Oon, who first of all men composed the Oymric song, and it was from his song that the best comprehension of bardism and poetry was obtained. Hynnny guna ethpwide baird brainta defot o ginger ac adisk y triohintefig, sef, plenid, alon, agrin. 76 Drip hate y kafwid bardonia eth. O gada gwibid erynnoes esod o gerd tidane obtundno, sef ed hwddw tidane tad aon aco aon o dugan bwyllacystyr adil. Al tidane obtidna. Tudnofchu. Noah. 77 Trifeth ybydd bard, sef penifant, aid falu fyn bont mydwgf dros gors and wiboda etha diogel boaniagel mnasbydddarfynei urban nacyn urban aisifim datha brained I diffraint, sefywhynnyei. Nod f. Sefy may dwidiad fal hynn a fino fod yn ben bid bont, a fino fod yn bont bid bard, o fod yn fard bid ben, o ben bid bont. 78 Quilriv 27 Tir Gosteg Gyfl Fredin Ysydd, a fa binagay irhybydd, ai hair, ai gwade, ai gwad, a rotter bid wrth bob un ov tir dan rybydd undid a blwydd ynsefydynt, mas arglwyd oirch gali quide, gorsid baird. Chu, in the glam expression of gwajacoed, mas, a mynydd, Gyod coed mas a mynydd and c nu fal hynn. Tir gosteg gifel fredin ysydd. Oirch gali quide mas arglwyd a gorsid baird al. Tri li y masinal gosteg rhybydd hydinge hyphned undid a blwyddyn, and cacyndddynt sinal pog gwe dutch adwed, ac uch adnu, ac uch adfan. 1 al. Tydmn, son of Tidna. Tudna q Unoa. There is evidently an allusion to this bardic dogma in one of the Mabinogion. Bendigeid Urin came to land, and the fleet with him by the bank of the river. Lord / said his chieftains, knowest thou the nature of this river, that nothing can go across it, and there is no bridge over it, What slash said they, is thy counsel concerning a bridge. There is none, said he, except that he who will be chief let him be a bridge. I will be so, said he. And then was that saying first uttered, and it is still used as a proverb. And when he had lain down across the river, hurdles were placed upon him, and the host passed over thereby. Mabanaji, Branwen the daughter of Llyr. Gwilym 2, 1433-1470, describes our Saviour as ein J 9 ont ein pen. Our bridge and our chief. And hence were instituted bards of privilege and usage, by means of the counsel and instruction of the three primary ones, Plenid, Alon, and Grin. 76. From three things was bardism obtained, from memory and knowledge from the age of ages, from the song of Tidane, son of Tudno that is, Tidane, the father of Aen, and from Aen from God by means of reason, sense, and understanding. 77. A bard will be three things, namely, a chief and a bridge, being resembled to a bridge, because he conveys over the morass of ignorance, security where there is insecurity, because there will be no weapon against him or against his fellow traveler, and a privilege for the unprivileged, that is, his protection. Accordingly it is said, he who would be chief, let him be a bridge, he who would be a bridge, let him be a bard, from being a bard, let him be a chief, from being a chief, let him be a bridge. 78. There are three common announcements, and whether it be notice, assertion, cry, or denial that is issued, it ought to be according to one of the three, under the notice of a year and a day, namely, the field of a lord, the resort of worship, and the gorset of bards. Or thus, there are three common announcements, the resort of worship, the field of a lord, and the gorset of bards. Otherwise, three places in which proclamation and notice are to be issued until the expiration of a year and a day, and in them are to be uttered every cry of restoration, of reassertion, and of rearrangement. And Louis Darren, 1680-1600, in his elegy on Tudor Aled, applies the same as pursuance to him. Pwyfd Henny Pafahur ed, Pwy on Tudor, Pontedode. Who was chief? What son was he? Who but Tudor? He was a bridge. 3 Chew. Whether the Glamorgan expressions, Quajacoed, Moss, Amynydd, C Hoddi Coed, Moss, Amynydd, and C, are derived from these announcements. 79 Tir Gorsid Gadarn Ynys Pryden, Gorsid Gulad AC Arlwide Gorsid Baird Gorsid CYNGHYD Oina Leaw Tir Priv Orid Ynys Pryden and C80. Tir Prefer said Baird Ynys Pryden, QT, R said Moel Mary, Dash Gorsid Biskayan, a Gorsid Bryn Gwyden. A slash. Moel Efra Biskayan a Bryn Gwyden. 81. Gwilrip 39. A 41. Tir Gwyth y Road Wide y Fardonia Thar Baith Guladaganidal. Sefy Engintaf Pen Ai Treef Wide Acai Brian Iwad Jintaf Yn Amzer Pryden Abid Mar Al Yn Amzer Bran APLLYRTRYDYDD Yn Amzer Gruffet of Janan, a braint nad Elaneb WRTH Gerd. Nag Adisko v bid onad imraint anod Baird Ynys Pryden. 82 Tri Banogian Guladoliath Bard Yn Adisk Ferild Yn Am Diffin Alafar Yn Imborth a Braint Oi Wyriad Sinhwyn All Guladishinital Y Oimriadilitid and Oba Oladaganital Binag Y Bont. 83 Tri Fev Nidoesal Bourbon Hen Gerd Hen Gaffa Hen Asterisk Gelfitted WRTHG RDD, A slash a Hen Diamond Suit Defod. 84. Tri Dina Jifanedant Lis, Al Lissalan, Bard, Goff, Athliner, Bard, Ferilt, Athliner VD Bard GWRWRTH Gerd Danta Ferilt, Tri Dina Unant Jifanet He Bond, Bard, GT, F, a TMYNTCRCU. A UA slash URU, 86. Trifrifafanian YSYDDAR Fard Oinaluf Agwibad dash carat inal hedva Siberwid dash asterisk Shinal Adiska Dithvoldeb. 86 Trithruided bard ei bum air yradian eigylch clear ai rod ama wn 61 hairwood ei gelfitted vrnnai cafo. Carat al asterisk and an ancient usage slash asterisk al accord and tillage. 79 The three firm gorseds of the Isle of Britain, the gorsed of country and lord, the gorsed of bards, and the gorsed of feed rate support. Others say, the three principal gorseds of the Isle of Britain, and c80. The three principal gorseds of the Isle of Britain, the gorsed of Maryhill, the GK, Arset of Bycawen, and the gorsed of Bryn Euro, Wyden. Al the hill of Ever, Bycawen, and Bryn Gwyden. 81 Three times was bardism submitted to the verdict of country and nation, namely, first, when it was originally arranged and privileged in the time of Pryden, son of Ede the Great, secondly, in the time of Bran, son of Llyr. Thirdly, in the time of Grufydd, son of Oenan, and it was so secured that no one should be initiated in any song or learning whatsoever, but under the privilege and protection of the bards of the Isle of Britain. 82 The three characteristics of a community, a bard teaching, an artist defending, and a laborer providing food, and they are entitled to the privilege of innate loyalists of the country and nation of the GYMRY, of whatever country and nation they may be. 83 Three things which cannot be contravened, an ancient song, an ancient memorial, and an ancient art of poetry. 84 Three men who socially constitute a court, a bard, a smith, and a harpist. Al a bard, a metallurgist, and a harpist. Or, a bard, a man of instrumental song, and a metallurgist. Three men who establish a social habitation wherever they may be, a bard, a smith, and a harpist. 85 Three principal things required of a bard, to preserve memorial and knowledge, to preserve peace and courtesy, and to preserve instruction and morality. 86 The three maintenances of a bard, his 5 free acres, his circuit of minstrelsy, and his fee for what he does, in virtue of his art, to another. 87 Trithruididog LLYS bard in Adagali quidr. 88 Gwilriv 66, Tri Shinal Guladadeb bardas Ignidia Atha Lafurideth. 89 Tir at Gorfa Gyfl Fredin Ysydd Oirch Baird in Gorsid Agali Quid Oirch Diginal Gulad ACRLYWRTH Batha She Fry the CHYRCH Aradraeth, CDCYLCH Aranvel Sifar 1, Aradvel Aridi Iath, a brained Iri W Beni EU Serchug. 90 Tir at Gorfawahan Red Ysydd a brained Ifeni YNDDYNT. NID Amgen Helredethmalredetha CHYNGHYD Sinal. 91 AR Drip Hate Wida Lafard Drifnu Abad YNWRWRTH Gadair Nithira Oroy AR Gafa Ahad W, Y Gampa Brianelian NID Amgen NA Federompe R Hugan Sendel Y. CYMRY. Achad Wtang Nefadith Voldeb YNDDYNT. Abamu Arnant YNY Bo I on a Chad Wakafado Sparth AR Phoned Y Gendel AR Sifth Y Bo in the EI Gadair AI Druided, Fal Nad ELO Anghof AC Anach ACOHYNNY Kal AR Fraint Jinhanad, Ahi NAS Gunalo HYNN, Kali EI de WRTH Gerd Dros Der Blin. Ed. 92 Gwil 54 Tridine N Idolat ACNIS Geller Baird O Honant Diog Balcha Kelwadog. 93 Gwilrip 5764 NC. Tir Guarant Ysydd Galubard O Nebun Aquenico Gair Bard Lanalinger de Weto Arei Guide Wibad Grayer Pena Sef Argalwide Nuanad Agair Dudego Gyriad Golad. Abamua Firiad Imraint Bard Lanalingard, Gan My Dearwid Imraint SWYDD Adild YDYWF. 94 Y Tri PHWNC Sintaf Y de Lafard EU Disco AV Historied, Kradukpog Peth Angradukpog Peth Akradu Ni Wayeth Beth. EAW Tri PHWNC Sintaf Bardas, Vel Trifun Adisk Sintaf Bard, NC. 87 The three licentiates of court, a bard, a judge, and a worshipper. 88 The three supports of government, bardism, judicature, and labor. 89 There are three common departures, the resort of bards to gorset and worship, the resort to a convention of country and lord, which is regulated by jury and law, and the resort to oration, both male and female being privileged to resort to them. 90. There are three peculiar departures, a female being privileged to join in them, hunting, warfare, and a convention of federation. 91. In respect of three things ought a bard to regulate matters, and to be a man of cheer, nuptial festivities, which he ought to chronicle and register, the royal games, that is, the 24 games of the nation of the Cymry, which he ought to see are conducted in peace and morality, and which he must arbitrate justly, and the genealogy of the nation and territory where his chair and endowment may be, in respect of which he ought to keep a memorial and system, lest innate privilege should suffer oblivion, and blemish, and consequently loss. If he attends not to these things, he shall lose the remuneration of his song for 3 years. 92. Three men who ought not, and cannot be made bards, the idle, the proud, and the liar. 93. There are three guarantees which will enable anyone who wishes to be made a bard, the word of a bard of poetic lineage, who shall affirm upon his conscience, the word of a chief, that is, a lord, or a judge, and the word of 12 true and loyal men of country. A priest is adjudged to have the same privilege as a bard of poetic lineage, since he is a druid in virtue of office and duty. 94. The three first points, which a bard ought to teach and consider, to believe everything, to disbelieve everything, and to believe it matters not what others say, the three first points of bardism, or, a bard s 3 first points of instruction, and c. 96, Gwilrif 74, Tri Crayer Cred Abridabaird Ynys Priden y den Gerdith Evangel Leuwen asterisk ac Wynabhal Aligad Goli Uni. AC Edric Ynogad Hall AC Wynab Goli Uni, SEF Pan YDD Eller WRTH Frigga Urodi RDDWY Law YN Jim Leith Bisid Y Nail YN Ylil, AV Pwysoparth Y Creary Audi Wisp Wide AR Wide Wifron. 96, Gwilrif 63, Tri Oger. Dafod YSYDD, Jifi under Iatha Shani Alaith, Gan Nas Geller Credu Amgen Hairwood Braint YPRYDYDD, Jifi under YSTYR Adat Gan, Can Nas Geller Credu Amgen WRTHBWYLLAC and Sod Hairwood Dilda Braint YPRYDYDD. A braint gorset SEFYWHYNNY Bam Aflaid Ter Gad Air WRTH Gerda Ilant Gandhi Foda Baird YNYS Priden SEFO Galwant Y Baird Braint Gorset Jai Falwi. 97, GWD Rib 4, Terford Wyson Heller YN Jifi on Bardonia Eth Baird YNYS Priden, SEFTRWY Lafar Gorset Can Jai Falwi A Defod WRTH Goff Gulada Gorset. EAW Lafar Gorset Gan Gorset A Defod Gorset. EA.W Goff Gan Goff Lafar. A Gof Ko Elbrin, SEFLLYTHYR, 98. Gwilrif 7, Tri SYRTH Preferred YNYS Priden, Baird Braint Nu BRYDYDD Ili Wadrayathu Achad Wakoff Deerwid Iathra Iathu Karat Siafid Iwel Ha DYSG A GWY. Boda Eth. 99 Ter Imgaius Odiled YSYDDAR Fard, Un YW Sanil Adiskugwiboda LYW Athrai Iathu THRYDYDDYW Hedik. Gan Gan Yero Gitfada Thangnef Hebo Amrizan AC Imdrin. Adiwedu ARGY said, Can NID Defod Na Gwed I Farda Unalo Carat HY Petha HYNN. 100 Ter Imdrafada Fident Ridian I Fard. AC I Ba Bun Aral Ofrodarian Guladaganidal, SEFYWYRHYNNY carat L and looking in the eye of the sun and the face of light. T. 95 The three relics of belief and asseveration of the bards of the Isle of Britain, the 10 Commandments, the Gospel of John, and the face of the sun and eye of light carat and when one makes an asseveration, he is to fold his 2 hands, placing the fingers of the one between those of the other, and pressing them on the breast, towards the relics mentioned. 96 There are 3 authorities of vocal song, just language and versification, since none other can be believed according to the privilege of a poet, just import and recitation, since none other can be believed according to reason. Mid-nature in respect of the duty and privilege of a poet, and the privilege of Gorsid, that is, the judgment and favor of 3 chairs of song, which are held according to the privileges of the bards of the Isle of Britain, being called by the bards the privilege of an efficient Gorsid. 97 In 3 ways is the bardism of the bards of the Isle of Britain properly maintained, namely, by means of the voice of Gorsid, an efficient Gorsid, and usage according to the memory of country and Gorsid. Others say, the voice of Gorsid, the song of Gorsid, and the usage of Gorsid. Others say, the memorial of song, the memorial of voice, and the memorial of Goyal Bren, that is, letter. 98 The 3 sorts of the primitive bards of the Isle of Britain, a bard of privilege, or poet, to rule, and to record, a druid, to teach, and an ovate, to improve learning and knowledge. 99 There are 3 endeavors, which are obligatory upon a bard. One is, to accumulate and teach sciences, the second is, to instruct, and the third is, to pacify, by introducing concord and tranquility where there is contention and quarreling, and putting an end to strife, for it is not according to usage, or becoming, that a bard should do contrary to these things. 100 There are 3 pursuits which are lawful to a bard, and to every other native of country and nation, that Helrideth carat acr dorieth amerinitieth kin my wrthj li ahynnjrj kafel fant ba bu heimborth, acni estilat na nag na nejid amant nag adela carat uquenike. Vel nac adelo honant I nebe uquenike. Eaw aridi iath, marinitieth ametdiginieth, kin mitrophota ethog welhod wrth danka shineth ywyrhyhnyav ter trophodian sepharedin au gelwer. 101 Trifeth amrained I fard imdrafada hwynt kin nad ywi on y petha hynnny ida f, sef feriudad carat ar hokid 7d carat, set ncf naman ei gwelha bwyllai adisk, ai wiboda ethai athrai iath. Kin my gwrwrth len ywf. A bhyfd carat kin na estilad arf noth ynei law fyn urban u, kin my gwrwrth heducha thangnef ywf. Trydyddyw sifnuidieth kin my gwrwrth geneth vachifi under ywf. ACF Adelafod WRTHEISWYDDO Adiskagoladitionidal ACACOS Y Petha HYNNY Bernir. NA Estilad Krefalefti Ifard Amgen Ni SWYDDAI Gelfitid WRTH Gerda Bardonaya Rag LLWGR, Aguayathijid, Ajo Aradilad Ofarda Bardonaya Rag NAS Gallo Bard Fod WRTH Graphite Jinal Myfer.ARY Petha Avedant AR Farda Bardas. ACARLS Energy Wiboda Awenbwil. ACI Onida Ter Trifodieth Jifaredin. 102 Ter RHYW Ola Jifaredin Affident WRTH Drivnali Weedigaeth Baird YNYS Priden, SEFC // Igoladud Alban ALYW Goladud Gali Quide AR Fanolawad TRYDYDD Goladud Goladishinital Gan Orfold de Guerdigaeth. A usinal dan ostega rhybydd. Deganad, eaw ter goladud jiferdana fident yn nod baird ynys priden, ac ident ba bi rod o / ter donged, sefmm, palon, ablith, nid amgen, goladud sifarwis dan osteg deganad, a goladud alban a * al. Nor should they be restrained from such as may desire them. Is to say, hunting, tillage, and pastoral cares, for it is by means of those things that all persons obtain food, and they ought not to be denied or prohibited, nor should such as may desire them be restrained. Others say, tillage, pastoral cares, and medicine, for these are pursuits of improvement, consequent upon peace and morality, and are called the 3 common pursuits. 101 3 things which a bard is not privileged to engage in, since they are not proper for him. Metallurgy, with which art he has nothing to do, except to improve it, according to his reason, learnings, knowledge, and doctrine, fdr he is a man of literature. War, since there ought to be no naked weapon in his hand against others, for he is a man of peace and tranquility. The third is commerce, for he is a man of primary law and justice, and he ought to attend to his office of instructing country and nation. And because of these things it is deemed that a bard ought not to have any trade other than his office and art, in respect of song and bardism, lest what ought to belong to bard and bardism should suffer loss and deterioration, and lest a bard, by following a trade, may not be able to practice meditation in respect of the things which are suitable to bard and bardism, and to literature and genial sciences. Nevertheless, the three common pursuits are proper for him. 102 The three common feasts, which are conducted and arranged by the bards of the Isle of Britain, namely, the first are the feasts of the 4 Albans, the second are the feasts of worship at the quarters of the moon, the third are the feasts of country and nation, because of a triumph and deliverance, which are to be held under the proclamation and notice of 40 days. Others say, there are 3 contributory feasts under the protection of the bards of the Isle of Britain, at which all have their portion of the 3 tributes, namely, honey, meal, and milk, that is to say, the feasts of co-oration under the proclamation of 40 days, the feasts of Alban, and the feasts Goladut Gali Quid Abrayat YW I feared Drivna YNDDYNT, ACYNDDYNT Kale Rodian OR Tir Kod Jai Ferdon SEFYW YRHYNNYYRF, a Blithamel. Alleged, Velpel Ged Karat Blithchta Melged, SEFO Gelwer Rodian Sifarwis Baird, SEFWRTH Eridr Ybident. 103 Tir Golad Eril YSYDD, a Siberwid YW Ifard Drivnu Arnant, SEFYW YRHYNNY Golad Pensinidal Akrulad Nethi Ara Golad GWYL Benton Karat SEFYBYDD Hano. Man y bo derchifa el pum main penton yn orsif siphon ed, ACYNNYNT Rodian YCWMMWDA carat argendal hide y noft ACH adon or Rodian cypherdon y goladud HYNNY affident YV baird, ACOARACO fourth, ACO goodwill ybident, mal y bo hosif ukale a carat u rodi AC ifard ei. Siberwid can nad oes namen Siberwid ifard yn tir goladud HYNNY. 104 Tir Gosteg YSYDD un YW Gosteg den RYBYDD un DYDD a BLWYDD YN then year Osteg Han Ydalit Pog Gwade Gadarn Fal Y May Gwade Och Adwed Gwade Dutch Ad Nu Gwade Dutch Adfan a carat Usinal. Im Hob Gorsid Gulat AC Arl Wida Fob Gorsid Baird Fob CYRCH Gali Quid. ALYW Gosteg Deganad ACWRTH Hano YBYDD Pog Gulad Jiferedin Gulad Ashanidal, a Fob Gorsid Orms SEF Gorsid Orms Elwer Year Una FO Engine EI Shinalakos Gormis Gorulad AC Estran Nu. Difrod AC Enrathing and Gulad Karat AC Akos Gorfod Iolad AC Arlwide Nu Feared Nu Irail Gan Raid Gulad Ashanidal Imginal in Gorsid Achana Korn Gulad YN Imbaratode Rifle AC Am Dipfunagward. A shinal year osteg hanim mob CYRCH Gali Quida Fob LLYSCWMMWD, ACWRTH Gornken Imhob Trafa FO Bumpanet Indi. TRYDYDDYW Gosteg Barad Fal Y May Dat Ganlis Dankin Gorsid Gulad AC Arlwide AC in Gorsid Baird AC in Gorsid Carat Alcorn Contribution, Milk Contribution, and Bony Contribution ***. Of worship. It is privileged for bards to preside over them, and to receive presents at them out of the 3 contributory gifts, which are corn, milk, and honey, carat, and they are called the bard's gifts of co-oration, because they refer to the plough. 103 There are 3 other feasts, which by courtesy a bard regulates, namely, the feast of the head of kindred, the feast of marriage, and the feast of the fire back, which takes place where 5 fire backstones are raised as a station of social abode. In them the gifts of the Kamat and nation are presented, as far as the 9th generation, and the bards receive a portion of the contributory gifts of those feasts, being taken from tilth, fold, and wood covered, according as it may be easiest to obtain and to give them. they are given by courtesy to a bard, for it is only the right of courtesy that a bard is entitled to at these 3 feasts. 104 There are 3 proclamations. 1 is a proclamation under the notice of a year and a day, and it is under that proclamation that every substantial cry should be issued, such as the cry of restoration, the cry of reassertion, and the cry of rearrangement, which are to be published in every gorset of country and lord, in every gorset of bards, and in every resort of worship. The second is the proclamation of 40 days, according to which every common feast of country and nation, and every gorset of oppression are held, a gorset of oppression being the name given to that which requires to be held in consequence of oppression by a border country or stranger, or of depredation and pillage in a country, whereby there is a peremptory occasion for country and lord, or bards, or others, in the cause of country and nation, to assemble in gorset, and to blow the horn of country preparatory to war, defense, and deliverance. This proclamation is to be made in every resort of worship, and in every court of commod, and by sound of horn in every town, which contains 5 inhabited houses. The third is the ready proclamation, such as the recitation of juridical peace in the gorset of country and diginal, ac imhab llys inata she frith, ac imhab oirch galiquide, aguidi y oihoderlis dank nidrhydd I neb arf noth yn urbanu, rhydd I bogparth guladishinital, ac alt ac estran gyrchger bronsid acydd eriso yn nod wylis dank heb arf heb osod, ar neb. Afo amgen nid bnuft lisden ether wrth diffrod ac enrathe I bernir. Brained I dudego gyriade guladishinital damginal, heb arf heb osod obident wrth lisden ai gyodcyny gunalant ynoleu raid aguidc hodvilis dank mind herwid eu raid ynllys hano dabrocom gulad dan osteg dagain. Ydd, a mind wrth rith guladishinital, a braint ywr baith hano dadabrocom gulad a mind gan eu raid av hakos dan osteg a bhybydd undid a blwydd nail ai in gorsid gulad ac arlwyd ai in gorsid diginal, ai in gorsid baird, a llys 12 c iriata fo fal d waspwide. A were llyscyfl fro, a chifro gulad kan nas galant wrthy raid ar acos amgen nachyfl fro rllysar orsida fo acos rthi. 105 Trifeth rhydd I fard eu simord ha ynghylch cleara sefydy trifrv asimdith nid amgen yd blithamel, ac nid I on I fard simord ha go simdith naman y tir asimdith jiferdon ka nis gelur amgenid into fo go simdith yn nod dui I dang nef. AC or tir go simdith jiferdon ybydd pa brodian ciferdon ing guladud y peder alban, AC Ingolad. Lord, in the gorset of bards, in the gorset of convention, in every court of judge and law, and in every resort of worship. And when juridical peace is proclaimed, it is not lawful for anyone to bear a naked weapon of offense, whilst it is lawful for all, in respect of country and nation, alien and stranger, to be present, as long as they shall remain under the protection of the juridical peace, without a weapon, without assault, whereas he who conducts himself otherwise is not allowed to enjoy juridical peace, but is adjudged to be a man deprived of privilege and exposed to warfare. 12 True and loyal men of country and nation have the privilege of meeting together, without a weapon, without assault, in right of juridical peace, which must be proclaimed, before they perform what is necessary, and when the juridical peace is proclaimed, they must go to court, in respect of what is necessary, and there awake the horn of country under the proclamation of 40 days, and submit to the verdict of country and nation, which verdict is privileged to awake the horn of country. And they must proceed to deal with their wants and requirements under the proclamation and notice of a year and a day, either in the gorset of country and lord, or in the gorset of convention, or in the gorset of bards. The court of 12 true and loyal men, constituted as already mentioned, is called the court of agitation, and the agitation of country, since they can have nothing to do with the necessity and occasion otherwise than by means of the agitation of the court and gorset of which there is need. 105 Three things which it is lawful for a bard to exact in his circuit of minstrelsy, being the three principal provisions, namely, corn, milk, and honey, nor is it lawful for a bard to exact provisions, except the three contributory provisions, for nothing else may be given which is a provision under the protection of God and his peace. And from the three contributory provisions are all contributory gifts in the feasts of the four Albans, and in the feasts of Gali quite a fob gulad eril a fident jn nod dai I dang nef. 106 Tir gulad a farner yn nod dai I dang nef, sef guladud y peder alban guladud guard guladishanidala fydd dan osteg duganid, Arodian yndyntor tir oed jiferdon, ganbob, or gendala don or. Rodian hynnny feared ac idlod, ac estrana lyn nod dugabaird ynys priden. 107 Tir gulad eril siberwid yweu bod yn nod dugabaird inya priden, nid amgen karat gulad pensanidal a gulad oifairwis a gulad gwilbenton, Arodian ciferdon or trifrav osimdith. EAWOARO 4th AC wide vol, Adon Ifard, AC idlod, AC estrana lyn cod dai I dangnef, SEFYWHYNNY mind yn nod baird ynys priden WRTH gosteg daginid dash carat EAW. SEFYBYDDY tir are laid, un OAR eril o 4th, AC eril o wide vol, nu o fel nu a cifruith a coed. 108 Tri banig freanelian gulad, bardonia ignidia eighth of ferilteth, can nis geller eu sinal onid wrth fraint, acnid raid I bob I madru. EAW is gil hike dot carat ignidia eighth, a krivkorieth. EAW is gil hijia eth krif leftia o hyphenuid. 109 Tir oengan bardonia eth, a fidi I eighth, pridedieth, a gali quiderieth. 110 Tir ganjan ferilteth, gofanieth, cernieth, a meddiginieth. 111 Tir kanjan is joagiaeth, bardoniaeth carat ignidiaeth, a shinghelorieth. 112 Tri brianiog anhiriag ysydd, bard, gof, asir. Worship, and in every other feast, which may be under the protection of God and his peace. 106 There are three feasts which are deemed under the protection of God and his peace, namely, the feasts of the four Albans, the feasts of deliverance of country and nation, which take place under the proclamation of 40 days. When gifts are presented from the three contributory aids by all men of the nation, and a portion of those gifts is for bards, the poor, and stranger, who are under the protection of God and the bards of the Isle of Britain. 107 There are three other feasts which are by courtesy under the protection of God and the bards of the Isle of Britain, namely, the Feast of the Head of Kindred, the Feast of Coeration, and the Feast of the Fire back, at which gifts are contributed from the three principal provisions. Others say, from tilth, fold, and wood covered, with a portion to the bard, the poor, and the stranger, who may be under the protection of God and his peace, that is, under the protection of the bards of the Isle of Britain pursuant to the proclamation of 40 days. Others say, the three oblations, one from tilth, another from fold, and another from wood covered, or, of honey, or the juice of the fruit of trees. 108 The three privileged specialties of country, bardism, judicature, and metallurgy, since they cannot be maintained except by privilege, and all are not required to know them. Others say, scholarship, judicature, and trade. Others say, scholarship, trade, and commerce. 109 The three branches of bardism, ovadism, poetry, and worship. 110 The three branches of artisanship, metallurgy, carpentry, and medicine. 111 The three branches of scholarship, bardism, judicature, and chancellorship. 112 The three landless ones who are privileged, a bard, a smith, and a carpenter, for they have the privilege of free maintenance, though they may not be possessed. Sefybydd brain truided rydd ident, sid na bont wrth fraint o phonetsen henid, acohynnny tyriog. 113 tri brianiog tyriog ysydd oimro gan phonetsen henid, sefhynny noft achyn jimro, aci ba bun ei bumir radian. A bard nu and nad onologimod kadam rhwng golida gorulid, sef li nidoes rith arnant, acwyntyn anghimod asterisk acs strongita inilo frwyd aragorfod imite laid sendel y oimri, yn urban eu gelinean, sefy delatir a brained oimri sin henidident. Al asterisk s stronget inil imite laid indel y oimri. 114 tir safran gyfrydd delit I bob oimrosin henid, tirioga etho bumir radian but a brained swydd o wiboda etha rhydd cor for all, acnis delit unac ha I neba fo broader o jimrosin henid. Eaw tir rhydd, gwiboda eth, a rhydd eaw gwyth dad gwiboda etha rhydd, cans nis delit nac ha I nebi I gifran or trip hate hynn. 115 tir safran anghifrid ysydd, sefnid rhydd I nebond o meddo ei ran yndd sef unYW pethio afont o waith dumegis north corfadil. G carat reg, a flant. Lyw unilo ddynoi ideal ai gelfidid ai allure ed cor for all ei hunan, fel y matai, a dodrv, a gwiz good, a feriana, a faboyalui igymmmhwyll, ai defnid ei hun, sef braintido y sifana unilo ac agafo foi gampe I gelfidid, ai wiboda eth ei hun. Yndryddnis delay nebran yny fraint anghifran agafo gan wr nu y gan ulidishinital, nu igan wyrwrthswydd ado sparth, dialed imraint ai derper, fal ybydd brain team, nu and nad, nu fard, nu on swydd eril ba binig wrth rate gwr, nu ulidishinital. 116 Triri dilatogen mala chaffer de bardonia eth pog glenadaeanus o gampa defod carat pog hard a carat al a foreign army that wins in behalf of the nation of the cymxy/*, of the privilege of innate nobility, and consequently endowed with land. 113 There are three privileged proprietors of land, a oimro of innate nobility, that is, he who is a oimro in the ninth descent, and every one who is such is entitled to his 5 free acres, a bard, or judge, who makes firm peace between country and border country, that is, where they are not subjected to juridical verdict, and are at variance, and a foreign army that may win a battle and victory in behalf of the nation of the oimri carat over their enemies, for they are entitled to land and the privilege of innate oimri. 114 3 free allotments which are due in common to every innate oimro, 5 free acres of landed property, the benefit and privilege attached to the function of science, and corporal freedom. These should not be denied to any native who is a genuine oimro. Others say, free land, knowledge, and liberty. Others say, the work of God the Father, knowledge, and liberty, for no one should be denied his share of these three things. 115 There are 3 shares which are not free for all, that is, none but the possessor is allowed to participate in them. 1. The things, which are of God's creation, such as strength of body and intellect, a wife, and children. The second is, what man makes of his own reason, understanding, art, and bodily faculties, such as a house, furniture, dresses, and implements, and everything that is produced by his own ability, devise, and material, he being privileged to have the whole of what he makes and obtains by means of his own skill, art, and science. Thirdly, no one is entitled to the incommunicable privilege which another receives from a person, or from country and nation, or from men of office and system, as duly deserving it, such as the privilege of a king, or a judge, or a bard, or any other office whatsoever according to the requirement of man, or of country and nation. 116 The three proper subjects of praise, and of the memorial of song and bardism, every quality and usage. Circo go bride agweta fob ymbwyll a chelfitted lies bida by wyd elir he ohana oac fees nac afraid focyddbwysa lisi oldeb. 117 Tier enrath bid arglwide heb jifi under by asterisk w5 ir like carat drugard de bard heb ddysg. 118 Tri chatamid guladad eb, arglwide safi on brodratangarag bard de ski digadithval. 139 Tri nod guladishanital, cat air baird lysad gulad ac inad ac arad ynei gorchwal. 120 Tri thrifadat absurd dafod a carat rnas sefer y rain nis gelur ei bod hairwood adisk baird ynys priden adisk dayanai kof ampholianus arddyn adigwid adidin wshdire gwed, acer kadarn ha yri hynnny. Triefn wide dos barth baird a bardonia eth. 121. Terdith gadarn baird ynys priden ashanital ycymry. Bam wrth fraint a defod gorsid gan rith gorsidogen hairwood ytrashaf onafur, barn wrth rith a defod guladaganital dan ostega bhybydd, a mind ohano wrth da ufr gulada a handle, gan ytrashafo. Nafur, a barn year rwyf wrth bwyllag and sod gan engine a gorfod, he nis gelur un ovddwy urail. 122 Gwilrivath. Tribard gradal ysydd, perfard, deerwoodfard, acafidfard. E.A.W, tri rhyw preferred ysydd, prydydd sef bard truidadog, agr na y may pride carat aginal kof of enorieth gorsid a shinal, sefhynn wily wadaya ethuan gorsid agar eir far bob and jadair a gorsid. Afid, agr na y may carat ni nod fydd arad heb hay iron, heb had. The plough is no sanctuary without the irons, or without seed. Teasia. That are pure and good, every form and appearance that are beautiful and lovely, and every contrivance and art for the benefit of the public and life, which are not productive of disadvantage and uselessness of equal weight with its utility. 117 The three depredations of the world, a lord without justice, a judge without mercy, and a bard without learning. 118 The three stabilities of the social state, a just lord, a merciful judge, and a learned and moral bard. 119 The three sanctuaries of country and nation, the chair of bards, the courts of country and judge, and a plough at work. 120. The three essences of vocal song, and where they are not found, it cannot be in accordance with the instruction of the bards of the Isle of Britain, the doctrine of goodness, the memorial of what is commendable in man and circumstance, and harmless amusement, and it was with the view of confirming these that the system of bards and bardism was ordained. 121 The three firm laws of the bards of the Isle of Britain and the nation of the Siriri, judgment according to the privilege and usage of Gorsid, by means of the verdict of presidents, and which is formed by a majority of votes, judgment according to the verdict and usage of country and nation under proclamation and notice, submitted to the silence and voice of country and nation by a majority of votes, and impulsive judgment according to reason and nature brought about by necessity and obligation, where neither of the other two can be obtained. 122 There are three graduated bards, the primitive bard, the druid bard, and the ovate bard. Others say, there are three kinds of primitive bards, a poet, or licensed bard, on whom it is incumbent to poetize, and to maintain the memorial and supremacy of Gorsid, and to maintain, that is, to rule in Gorsid. And his word is to be paramount in chair and Gorsid, an ovate, on whom Imanu, Agwelha dysg Agwiboda, a deerwood, acr na y masinal athrai iatha chrch gali quide, ali na bo deerwood dos barthus orad oder, braint ywvrprydydd janal adiska gali quid, can my arna fog safanafanianus swida adild alfadid y mayoin. Nal adisk gali quid. 123 Tir Gorsid gadam ysydd, Gorsid o briv arfer a defad indal y oimri eryn esod cyn gof a gwibad, ai hamzara banahal alawad, Gorsid gordad gan gof, ai hamzara y tir prif will arbanig, nid amgen y pask ar sulgwine, ar nadolig, a Gorsid dam. Wayne ani spies o amzara, sefybydd priotas brinan, dydd gwiskakam asteriska dydd com heduch. Trio ed baird simrua dynnwyd or hen lifrau gan bizi art lorworth, ac a dangus wide gantho, in jodair tierler ac a farnwide o flane hano yn ogerdo dal, ac fagaf widident wedi hynnny gadair imhabun o carat artir talaith. Trio ed baird simrua. Limadrio ed a dangus yger bron gadair tierler gan bizi art lorworth mab lorworth fynglwyd, Olllyfr Thomas Hobson o lang grallo, un o lifralgas. Abifan o dre brin. 1 Tribard ka ysydd, Sintaf prefard new bride asterisk a mistake apparently for Quran carat i.e. the proclamation of peace by means of a horn. Asterisk see volume IP 73, note. Thomas Hopkin was the son of Hopkin Thomas, who wrote the Greal and other works, about the year 1350. John Hopkins, the tersifier of the Psalms, was descended from this funily. Carat Thomas of Evan, or Bevan, was a good poet and critic, who flourished between 1660 and 1700. It is incumbent to genialize and to improve learning and sciences, and a druid, on whom it is incumbent to maintain instruction and a meeting of worship carat and where there is no regular druid haying a chair degree, the poet is village to maintain instruction and worship, for it belongs to him in virtue of original requirement and offices, an obligation of art to maintain the instruction of worship. 123 There are 3 firm gorseds of song, a gorsed according to the primitive practice and usage of the nation of the Oimri from the age of ages, before memory and knowledge, its times being the points of the sun and moon, an institutional gorsed within memory, its times being the 3 principal and special festivals, namely, Easter, Whitsunday, and Christmas, and an incidental gorsed, its times being unknown, such as the marriage day of a king, the day of coronation, and the day of the horn of peace carat. The triads of the bards of Simru, extracted from the old books by Richard Lorworth, and exhibited by him in the chair of Tierlerl, and adjudged before it as authoritative. After that, they obtained a chair in each of the 3 provinces. THB Triads of the Bards of Simru. The following are the triads which were exhibited before the chair of Tierlerl by Richard Lorworth, son of Lorworth the grey-haired carat from the book of Thomas Hopkin carat of Langgrallo-1 of the books of Thomas, son of Evan carat of Trebrin. 1. There are 3 banded carat bards. The first is the primitive bard, or poet, whose function and art are to be cat blacklaw or urdaka, himi Eiffel and inobi band songs of the band, Sindalug. YDD, AISWYDD AI Gelfitted YW Pridu, a shinal kof kadwedig m bob molians ARWR agwythred achanu mali bob molianus adayanus a wedo partha fotialung, a hedianus, a discu arei gerd pog dayanus parth adiska di foda, a shinal kof ac adisk y gelfitted wrth gerd, a. Fob brainy a di foda adodad ar feared ynys priden, a carat u hadisku ar gerd do sparthus herewid safai on gelfitted serd dafod baird year hen gymry. Adild ywr nadravnu do sparthu herewid brainy a di foda year hen gymry, e mob gadair ac estethvad agorsid wrth gerd dafod, acr na y makad was shinal year lathe. Jim rag yn diladria diladiathe I disku yn jywir herewid ei hansot de I do sparth jinhanid a dial dog. Alyw Urwidfard, AISWYDD AI Gelfitted YW Kof AC Adiska Shafarwidid, AC Urwidog Wythradod Dayanus Amolianus, Arroy ar gof llyfrac iscriven a code de bon dindel ycymry, au brainy a carat u defo fala asterisk u. Guiper, rag digwida ar gendel ycymry udri ar ladacha de fruithan phoned a brainy a sendel, acohynny digwida am rained a cham fraint, a fob anos parth yn unwed ag buletin digwid ysen headload danaski dig nh osant yneu plith nac no du na baird na bardonia eth herwid year en hano. Adild ar na yw diskudar lane ac isgriffen a year I8 jim reg a ufrau a cherda yn jifi on jair garap, a gwibid brainy a defoda baird sendel ycymry, a carat u hansot de asterisk u hanfada, acf a delay fod du pub amoned, a fob am raint, a fob came fraint, a fob an fvac an fod, ragugru sendel ycymry au brainy a defoda mole. Ianius, au hyatha usin huine older, a usin henny druid molianus. Trydyddyw posford ai gelfitted yw serd dafod herwid de chimig for adiska chelfitted genilgump. Poetize, and to preserve the memorial of everything that is commendable in man or deed, to celebrate in song everything that is commendable and good, as would be fitting in respect of what is meritorious, and deserving to teach in song everything that is good in respect of doctrine and usages, and to maintain the memorial and teaching of the art of song, and all the privileges and usages which have been conferred upon the bards of the Isle of Britain, and to teach them in methodical song, according to the proper art of vocal song of the bards of the ancient Oimri, and it is his duty to arrange and systematize matters, according to the privileges and usages of the ancient Cymry, in every chair and estedvod, and gorset of vocal song. It is incumbent upon him also to preserve and maintain the Cymric language free from degeneracy and corruption, and to teach it correctly, according to its quality and original and proper arrangement. The second is the herald bard, whose office and art are memorial, instruction, and history, to symbolize good and laudable deeds, and to record in book and writing the genealogies and descent of the nation of the Cymry, their privileges and usages, so that they may be known, lest there should happen to the nation of the Cymry that degeneracy and ignobleness which impoverish the descent and privileges of a nation, and hence ensue non-privilege and false privilege, and every lack of system, as has been the case with those unlearned nations, among which neither awen from God, nor bards, nor bardism proceeding from that awen, have been found. It is his duty to learn to read and to write the Cymric language, and to commit it to book and song properly and correctly, and to know the privileges and usages of the bards of the nation of the Cymry, with their nature and essence. He ought also to impugn all ignobleness, all lack of privilege, all false privilege, and all illegality and disusage, lest the nation of the Cymry, their privileges and laudable usages, their language, innateness, and celebrated antiquity should suffer corruption. The third is the post-bard, whose art is vocal song according to the inventive Baird Diwedar, a dwynar adisk bob gwj boda etli adothin of a chelf jadoida a defoda daeanus emolianus, a dosparthigwiboda nuidian herwid rhyw, a riv, ac amzer, a ue, ac aahos, ac urdas, a hynnysyddrahwng profard ar posford, Prefarda delayer Wayne Guidig fa. Faoi olov hen esod, av posferda delay alu ato awello foi flane, a thrufnu ary petha hynn una year fard herwid y bovi lies ar gofen, a carat ar ansod, av hanfod, ar emzer, ar urdas, aco carat petha hynn juru adiska gwiboda, a dothinab, a helfitted, ac urdas. AC enradid ar gendel agolid y oimri, fal yg carat ed ideanus emolianus. 2 ter unbengard ysydd, pridu, a chanutelin athant, a hyferwitted. 3 tri rhywwrwrth gerd dafod ysydd, ointaf, prydydd, aiswyddYw pridu achanu y endosparthus herwid y gelfitted wrth gerd, acyn warranty dig ei ajerdot, acyn diski dig ei imdor, ACYN ACYN Bulgaria Arvaeth, ACYN Dalban asterisk Nagi Imkan, a Chad Wikoff am Fraint a Defod AC Adisko. Hengard, a Barn Ar Gerd Dafod, a Chof Molianus am Bob GWR Agwythred a Fernir YN Folianus, a Hwyagalu DWYN Koff am a Code de Bond Sendel Y Oimri, a carat Uhan Fod a carat Uhan Sot. A chano carat en fardonai de ar desin fal y bo hodaf deal a diskua kofi a y gerd, adiska de. Dan wch ai disgoacai hatgano, acoclyw. Carat alyw tuler, a hwnwfydd urdor obrydyd guarantidig ei ojerdot, herwid ydalit arbrydydwrth fraint a defod year hen gymry. AISWYDDYW Kanu YN Duliade de ar desin AC Arvaeth, a Chanu YN Amig EIDDYCHYMMYGACYN. Search a guide EI AC Arila Discudi Fodot carat. These three bards are mentioned by Edmund Pris, Profard carat Erwid Kurd RADD and W, a Fotfard NID and Ard da El primitive bard, Cyril bard of honorable degree, and Pot bard. The selection is not unhandsome. Insternotion and Kiyul art of the later bards, and to impart instruction in every science, wisdom carat arts, and good and laudable usages, and to systematize new sciences according to kind, number, time, place, occasion, and dignity carat. And this is the distinction between the primitive bard and the post-bard. The primitive bard ought to bring with him what has been behind him from old ages, and the post-bard ought to call to him what he sees before him, whilst the herald bard arranges these things according as the advantage, requirement, nature, essence, time, and dignity of them may demand, and to bestow instruction, sciences, wisdom, art, dignity, and honor out of them upon the nation and country of the Oimri, as befits what is good and praiseworthy. 2. There are three supremacies of song: to poetize, to play the harp and stringed instrument, and to teach history. 3. There are three kinds of men of vocal song. The first is the poet, whose function is to poetize, and to sing methodically, according to the art of song carat. Being of warranted authority, of learned pursuit, of genial imagination, of discreet intention, and of regular purpose, to keep the memorial of privilege, usage, and instruction derived from ancient song, to pronounce judgment upon vocal song, to keep laudable memorial of every man and deed that are adjudged to be commendable, to preserve a record of the genealogies and descent of the nation of the Oimri, their derivation and condition, and to sing poetically upon a subject in such a manner as would be easiest to understand, learn, and remember the song, for the instruction and amusement of those who may learn, recite, and hear it. The second is the family bard, or a minstrel, who is a poet of warranted authority, as becomes a poet according to the privilege and usage of the ancient Oimri, and his function is to sing domestically upon a subject and proposition, to sing with a clear imagination, and with affectionate meditation, to regulate and teach good, noble, and moral usages. A bonhedigate de Dithvalian, a chanu search heb surthid, a mal heb druth, a deacon heb weridwid, ac adisk yn didden a didden wch yn adisk. Ynoly bo hosef diskua deal a kofi a y gerd acr na fai gerd y mado spartha bamo der ac estethvad y oift y bo ei drigfa. Acy may nhano acnas disgoarei gerda fo and wedus ei gliwed ai disco herwid ysydddard fodadanus agwedus eu harfer. Abroad flfydd achadamath ywfibrydydd ofard odiariog guarantidig acyn na de braint ei gadair, rhyddyw mine serd duliade gerbron kadarn asterisk abamu ami herwid o barth rhywyddsparth sydd ami ydalid, acnid on eido sparthahano ar. Gerd orchestral prydydd odiariog fo eroginal ei gadair yn urban ei gistadladian. Ether hyadidasparther herwid ei kimreg, a dayanusder ei hadisk, a gloider ei my ferdot, ei kimreg, a hosder ei discu ideal ei kofi iidwynar erdigan ac arist. Trydyddyw clearer, ac ido y may cleara acm senu agaganu, agwarth rudda, acm defalu, acm surthu, acm bul acm diriogwares tragwares, didnu ayuan hamedwal, acnidoesr na nacarei gerd na dosparth na barn, na braint gadair, na defod areiswyddai gelfitted, namen bod wrth. Farngulata she frith, acna unilo yneu herben. Sefy gelwer y triwer hynnwrth gerd dafod bard gadair, bard tulug, ac afurfard, ac arnant y mater kane serd dafod, nid amgen na bardoniaeth sefywhynny pridedieth, a theolarideth, a glirideth. 4 triacos baird a bardoniaeth ysydd, sinal kofsify on yn gadwedig ama fugint aigwr, aigwythred, aigwiboda carat adiska defoda daeanus, agwiboda unant gyphonetiant, ai selfitted, ai dothanab, ai dithvoldeb carat a asterisk, cat air is probably meant. And to sing love without frivolity, praise without flattery, satire without reproach, instruction in an amusing way, and amusement in an instructive way, as may be easiest to learn, understand, and remember the song. Upon him and his song are conferred the system and judgment of the chair and estedvad of the territory, in which may be his abode, but, in conformity with good usages, and such as are meet to be practiced, he must neither sing nor teach in song what is not fitting to be heard or taught. He is a brother in the faith and companion to a poet, who is a chaired bard, authorized by, and under the protection and privilege of his chair. It is lawful to refer a domestic song to a chair, and it ought to be judged according to the kind of system which is peculiar to it, for its system is not the same as that which belongs to the extraordinary song of a chaired poet, who has to maintain his chair against his fellow competitors, but is arranged according to its simreg, the goodness of its instruction, the lucidity of its meditation and simreg, and the facility of learning, understanding, and remembering it, and of clothing it in harmony and music. The third is the minstrel, who is authorized to stroll, to censure, to satirize, to reproach, to mock, to abuse, to supplicate, and to recite lyrics in a dialogue, for the sake of amusing and rejoicing the mind. Neither he nor his song is endowed with a system, judgment, or privilege of chair, nor is there any usage attached to his office or art, further than that they are subject to the judgment of country and law, and that he should do nothing against them. These 3 persons of vocal song are called chair bard, family bard, and irregular bard, and to them belong the 3 branches of vocal song, namely, bardism, that is, poetry, domesticity, and minstrelsy. 4. There are 3 occasions for bards and bardism, to maintain and preserve just memorial of what were formerly, whether man, or deed, or sciences, to teach good usages, and sciences which promote social inhabitation, whether they be art, or wisdom, or morality, and to amuse, rejoice. Didnu ayuan ha, a shafanetu medula deal a search, a defuru amzer yndnoeth, canes j petha jifanetantula de thudwed. AC7 digir trifna dos parth gulad ar gendala chai wed, yny mod de gifwid yn huzov, a didnafia chatamaf. 5 trip hate, hairwid ai dos part her, ydybd fard brydydd kadiri agi gwibad, sintaf ywyd dos parth ar gerd dafod ai chelfitted, ai for the nasa, alyw dos parth brainiata defoda ygwyrwrth grid de pound thant. A thrufnua dos parthu hairwood wint, canes ar breekfard obrydyddy may hynnny. Trydyddyw dos parthu ar jiferwidid agwiboda bardoniad sef banadothinabir hen gymry, aca code de bon dindal y oimri, obran hanod do tiwisigjian and diladogen jinhuinal a carat ugwythridod molianus, ao arderchogi ascendal y oimri. Aroy ar siphon ar gof serta dos parth jifi on hairwood defodan baird year hen gymry. 6 tier dialds wide arbanijan bard wrth frainta defod year hen gymry. Ode was shinal brainy agendal y oimri, ode was shinal y lath jimrag y en diladiath, acad was shinal de photo guiboda daenis amolianua hynnnigYda gerd dafod dos parthus yn na de braint oder ac estethvod, sefer cad was shinal y pethio hynnydychymmygwdacy triefenwide dafod Bayer de bardonia eth, ac adodad arhynny fraint adilding hader ac estethvod. 7 trip hate a waharder ar farda thra odi iriog. Unyw selfidid a disguidia athanethval adrigenus, quithrido de defoda anethvalian, ac imgfath rashua gw carat ra guirino denethvalian, canes defruith osifon edruid guladishanidal onant y petha hynn. ACMHYNNYNI wed ARBRYDYDD and voldeb, NAI re W NAI rith. And occupy the mind, intellect, and affection, and to while away the time not unwisely. For they are what make country and district socially inhabitable, and whereby the arrangement and system of country are conferred upon nation and tribe, in the way found to be most practicable, most diverting, and most permanent. 5. There are 3 things, which, according to their arrangements, a bard, who is a chaired poet, ought to know. The first is the system of vocal song, its art, and appurtenances. The second is the system of the privileges and usages of men of vocal and instrumental song, and how to arrange and regulate them, for that is the duty of a poet who is a primitive bard. The third is how to arrange bardic history and sciences, or the principal features of the wisdom of the ancient Cymry, and the genealogies and descent of the nation of the Gymry, their kings, princes, and innate nobility, with their laudable dicts, and the excellences of the nation of the Cymry, and to place the whole on the record of song, and in proper arrangement, according to the usages of the bards of the ancient Cymry. 6. The 3 special duties of a bard according to the privilege and usage of the ancient Cymry, to preserve and maintain the privileges of the nation of the Cymry, to preserve and maintain the Kymric language free from corruption, and to preserve and maintain good and laudable usages and sciences, and all this by means of a systematic vocal song, under the protection and privilege of chair and estedvod. That is, it was for the purpose of preserving and maintaining these things that vocal song, bards, and bardism were devised and appointed, and on the same were conferred privilege and obligation in chair and estedvod. 7. There are 3 things which are forbidden to a bard, being a chaired teacher, an immoral and wicked art or learning, immoral acts and usages, and intercourse with immoral men and society, for these things will spoil the social inhabitation of country and nation. On that account, immorality, its kind, or form, are not becoming to. Canes ken la pogdeth voldebishafanetieth yw bard herwid eiswyddai dialed. Acer kadarnhan hynnyyy do de donod gulada gorwiad, a braint rebag eril mal gala f gad was shinal siphonetieth adith voldeb, au hadiska yn jifion. 8 trip hate anbipker ar fard ysydd nid amgen, Longanu, Londisku, AC Lonfarnu. 9 trip hate ogisafan dialed herwid na de braint arbanig ysydd ifard wrth fraint a defod year hen gymry, eidirynrhydd, sefhynnyei bumerwyradian, ai washale yn rad libinig yddelo herwid eiswyddai. Gelfitted wrth gerda hynny gan arglewide y sifthly yddelo, ai yn heb neb yn maf tra byada ei rad ai gad 10 Ter grad disgyblaeth ysydd gerd dafod bardonia eth nid amgen, ointaf ywdysgybl isbas, ale ywdysgybl disgyblad, trydydysgybl penserdide. Dysgybl isbas a delay wibad dos barth y siltau, av imadradian herwid ufrau dos barth y sihidada, a dos barthu ar fi sura duluade oanus disgyblaeth dafod yw hano, a chanu ar bump or mi suru hynny. yn onidal yn mam penserda ddy weto arei guide wibid y geller prydydd ohana, hefyd effa delay wibid ydydd va a carat rd foda ysyddarei disgyblaeth. Dysgybl disgybladda delay wibid hebla wyr dysgybl isbas, dos barth y mesura ar simariada, achanu ary na messer sisfanyan, a carat u dangos o asterisk I waith ei hun yn warranty dig ar nu y dan la ei thra, acf a delay wibid y pumtheg by sifaredan au gotchel, acf a delay wibid. A pi since a bard is the balustrade ol morality and social inhabitation, according to his office and duty, and it was to confirm the same that he was invested with the protection of country and border country, and distinctive privilege, that he might preserve and maintain social inhabitation and morality, and teach them accurately. 8. There are 3 things indispensable in a bard, namely, that he should sing properly, that he should teach properly, and that he should judge properly. 9. There are 3 things in right of primary obligation, by special protection and privilege, to which a bard according to the privilege and usage of the ancient Gymry is entitled, that his land should be free, namely, his 5 free acres, that his wassail should be gratuitous, wherever he may go, in virtue of his office and art of song the same being supplied to him by the lord of the territory, which he may visit, and that his word should be paramount, no person s word being superior, as long as his degree and chair remain to him. 10. There are 3 disciplinary degrees added to vocal song and bardism, namely, the first is a probationary disciple, the second is a pupil disciple, the third is a master disciple. A probationary disciple ought to know the system of syllables and sentences, a coaxling to the books of the system of metricities, and how to arrange the meters of domestic song, for that belongs to the discipline of vocal song, and to sing in 5 of those meters poetically according to the opinion of a master of song, who shall say upon his word and conscience that he is competent to be a poet. He ought also to know the laws and usages which relate to his discipleship. A pupil disciple ought to know, in addition to what a probationary disciple knows, the system of meters and resumptions, and to be able to sing in the 9 primary meters, and to exhibit the same as his own composition, warranted by the word, or under the hand of his tia-her, he ought to know, and to avoid the 15 common faults, he ought also to know the hefid yd fodaedilit wrth general oder acs devvad, a madrudo sparthaka boned the shafarwidid. Dysgybl penserdida delay wibid y siphona delay v carat jysgybl diskyblad di wibid, achida hyny kanu and diskyblad de ar year hal fi surakadiriaga madrudo sparthi u hansat de uriwiao, agachal year hal fi oa. Madru sifarwidid odirth y preferred wrth fraint a defod year han gymry, a dwyna code ty wisigjian a bonhedigensen huinal indal y oimri, a shafarwidid meu hal y thrido de carat ud fodamolianus, a gwibid brainy agendal y gymry au hanfot o hansot, a madru dwyna ar gof year hal betha hynn gerbron gader, a. Madru roy arlyfry endosparthus y siphon, a madru trifnuidosparthu gader acs devvadim mam bard o bensard gadiariog, a madru banadothin abir han gymry, a dosparth jifi on ary lath jimrege I hal siltau ai giria, ai himadradian, ai hisgrifani yn jifi on a dos. Parthus, acf a delay wibid arei gafe I lafar hal frani a defoda baird year han gymry, ard dosparth jifi on amanta chafa gwibid year han brifird a carat u gurdi, oa farau, ar hoaji farwidid ysydd odir thint, a fandangos foiganu ei hunan year hal fi surakadiriog. Herwid eu riwiao o gisafan and sod yn gurdorieth bensardide hal ido gader, a guidi wykafib f dare, a thragadiariog ybydd, ac idavi na de ar brainy aododa de ar feared wrth fraint a defod year han gymry. A chyny bo idagader bimir fyn gadamath I bensard. 11 Ter dogna eth ysydd ar radian baird herwid grado eu disgyblaeth o hansot, nid amgen, Road dysgybl isbas mei gerd ar babun ov ter gwyl arbanig yw pedwar ar hugan, obydd guarantadig ar rei. Usages necessary in holding a chair and rod, and to be skilled in the genealogies of the nobility, and in history. A master disciple ought to know the whole that the pupil disciple ought to know, and therewith to sing like a disciple in all the chaired meters, to know the system of their quality and kinds, to avoid all the faults, to be skilled in history, as taught by the primitive bards according to the privilege and usage of the ancient oimri, to trace the pedigrees of the innate princes and noblemen of the nation of the oimri, to be acquainted with the history of all their laudable deeds and usages, to know the privileges of the nation of the oimri, their substance and quality, to be able to record all these things before a oher, to commit the whole methodically to book, to regulate and arrange a oher and estedvad, according to the judgment of a bard, who is a chaired master of song, and to know the articles of the wisdom of the ancient oimri, and proper arrangement of the oimric language, and all its syllables, words, and sentences, and to write them properly and systematically. He ought to know in memory and viva voce all the privileges and usages of the bards of the ancient oimri, and their proper arrangement, and the memorial and knowledge respecting the ancient primitive bards, their songs and books, and all the history which is derived from them. And when, by means of his own singing, he shall exhibit all the chaired meters, according to their kinds founded upon primary quality, to be a masterly science of music, he is entitled to a oher, and when he shall have obtained 3, he will become a haired teacher, and be entitled to the protection and privileges conferred upon bards according to the privilege and usage of the ancient oimri. And before he obtains a oher, he is deemed as the companion of a chief of song. 11. There are 3 apportionments of the fees of bards, in respect of the degrees of their discipleship and quality. The fee of a probationary disciple for his song, on each of the 3 special festivals, is 24 pence, if he be a thra nu o dan ei la f, a rhyddYW Siberwood, Edenbo rydd igio amgen nacafod fodal o rod. Bbo dysgybl diskyblad mei gerd, obydd guarantadig yw diagine, sefywhynny triswilta gr6d, acnidrhydd ido fwynahynyo hologofen, sidbo rhydd sybcrwyd. Bhad dysgybl penserdide yw pedwar ugint, sefowbwlltacy ythoeewog, abad wrth warrant ger nu la eiathra, acnid hol ido dros hynny, naman durban siberwood. Y rodian hynn agafer ygan arglwyd oithan karat againer o gerd kof ac adisk, ac adidasparther o gyferwided, nu adiaser o akabond wrth akos sifrith asterisk I al megis ybydd hal tier, a brained eendel y oimri, a nethi or a phdb dysgybl yn warrantidig y dan la nu ar. Eiathra, acathra yn warrantidig wrth fam a brained a grad o dare. Aco cheer road am gerd nu am oifsa karat wyddd ar un ov gwyleu, ni shefer ar un or yil rod am year undangos. Road hefidadilla tr bard herwid ei rad gana generident nu adangoser o jifa karat wyddd, ar rodian hynn affident osmdith baird yn niskyblaeth. 12 Trigosmdith ysydd I fard herwid brained eiswydd ai gelfitted. Pum Rodian, Saniago Bob Aradro Fun YCWMMWD Eroder Ido Igan Arglwyd Y Sifth. Ai Rodian Defodal Herwid CISWYDD ai gelfitted. 13 am Drip Hate Wydalit Ryadian I fard Herwid Phi Rad, My Gerd Dafod Igano WRTH Archa Domunde I Cafo, ACM Year ACHAV Sifarwided Yrotho FM Hob Hall Tier, ACM Hob Hall Boned the Brain Gendal Agolid, AC. My Sifarwided Arato Y Dan ei la Agaisi am Afugint AC am Afuner ei Discu or Lath Jimrag Part D. Warranted HJ the word carat or under the band of his teacher, and ENRTC is free to him, though it is not lawful for him to seek more than the customary fee. The fee of a pupil disciple for his song, if warranted, is 40 pence, that is, 3 shillings and a groat, and he is not, of claim and requirement, entitled to more, though he is entitled to courtesy. The fee of a master disciple is 80 pence, that is, 6 shillings and 8 pence, warranted, as he must be, by the word or hand of his teacher, and he has no claim to anything beyond that carat except the reception of courtesy. These fees are received from the lord of the territory carat for the song of memorial and instruction which is sung, and for the history which is analyzed, or for the pedigrees of descent which are traced, in pursuance of some lawful cause, such as a claim for land, the privilege of the nation of the Gymry, and nuptial festivity, each disciple being authorized under the hand, or by the word, of his teacher, and his teacher being authorized by the judgment, privilege and degree of O'Hare. And if a fee be received for a song or narrative on one of the festivals, a fee shall not be received on any of the others for the same exhibition. A fee is due also to a bard, according to his degree, from those to whom he may sing, or exhibit a narrative, and these gifts shall constitute the telling proisurans of bards during their discipleship. 12. There are 3 provisions for a bard, according to the privilege of his office and art: 5 free acres, a penny from every plough in the commod assigned to him by the lord of the territory, and his customary fees in respect of his office and art. 13. For 3 things ought fees to be paid to a bard, according to his degree: for the vocal song which he shall sing at Tibby bidding and desire of him who hears it, for the pedigree and information which he shall supply in every claim for land, and in every claim for the nobility and village of nation and country, and for any required information which he shall give under his hand, respecting what occurred formerly, and respecting what is desired to be 4tvi4t\v. Carat Darl Lane ai Hisgrifinu av dos Barth ysyd ami, acar fard y may y petha hynno hala chifi under a brained eiswyddai guy fitted wrth gerd. 14 Tirdith ysyddar fard oathra odiari agabarth ei diskyblodi. Sintaf nas simero atto amgen nac uno bob grad ar unwaith. Lywnas gadawo fidd carat ynt gimeridident diskybian na gonuthur ohonent diskyblian, can ni wed iddysgybl onuthur dysgybl ari, a thrydydnac imarfirant ygwyrwrth gerd dafod. Achard dant megis canu crwth New Dealan, New Janal ac imarfer akrifta chelfitted ov bidpa unbinagadi ithra y fitted wrth gerd dafod, ai for the Nassau. / 15. Trip hate y delay thra wily oragdint arei diskyblin rag eu mind yn and asparthus acyn ormskolida the uluhi ydd alant acy bident, acyn aniskadig parth eu selfitted acyn ang hyphenet gamp o fod feli. Sintaf ywna unalant ythridod denethvalian nac imarfer a defoda anethvalian, nacymgyrch ileo et anethvalian sef nac imarfirant aledrid abrata chynllwynac imlada, a godina bafuti indra ashinina, ac imrizana, a thwyll agormes a shablu agwaradwida, a senu, a gaganu, a gwatwar a dineward, a medwdot, acna lun. Iant gelwid ar neb nacm unpeth naid weeded arol eril, acna unalant rigimadrig fos ac and wedis and fodloni gwr agolid, acerdwyn agre ar gampadayanus, a lagruadi fodamolianus, ac nad ilant idafamu, ar liboquarian anghifrithalon, a hebido cyrch med. On ac anudon were a uadron a bradwer, a fudianiata fob rhyw gruidrade erodiata fob drug ythred were aria fli wadraithgar, megis yraya ligrant arian ybrinan ai jin hwaziadau, acna unalant eu hunan nac imarfer aquaruna nethvalian megis gardi audizia, acna quarian fcycyfryw quarun nac arian nacm unri. Learned of the Cymric language, as to the reading, writing, and arranging of it. These things belong to a bard in virtue of the claim, justice, and privilege of his office and art of song. 14. There are 3 laws incumbent upon a bard, who is a chaired teacher, relative to his disciples. The first is, that he take to himself only one of each degree at once. The second, that he suffer them not to take disciples, ctr to make disciples, for it is not fitting that a disciple should make another disciple. And the third, that the men of vocal song associate not with men of instrumental song, by playing the violin or harp, or that they follow and practice no trade or art whatsoever, except the art of vocal song and its appurtenances. 15. 3 things which a teacher ought to guard against in his disciples, lest they should become irregular, oppressive to country and family whither they may go, and where they may be, illiterate as to their art, and consequently unsociable. The first is, that they should not commit any immoral deeds, or practice any immoral usages, or frequent any immoral places, that is, that they should not habituate themselves to theft, treachery, waylaying, fighting, adultery, fornication, contentions, quarrels, deceit, oppression, blaspheming, reproaching, scoffing, lampooning, mocking, mimicking, and drunkenness, that they should tell no falsehood of any man or thing, or repeat it after another, that they should compose no immoral or indecent rhymes to displease man and country, to bring corruption into good qualities, and to corrupt commendable usages, that they should not go to taverns, and places where there are illegal plays, and which are the resort of drunkards, perjurers, thieves, traitors, harlots, all kinds of vagrants, tramps, all evildoers, and those who are disaffected to the government, such as those who alloy the king's money, and abuse his writs, that they should not commit or practice any immoral plays, such as cards and dice, that they should not play such plays for money, or any goods, profit, or gain. 4. Denia ged ac anil yny bid, ac nad ilant ileo et kud anghifrithalon, ac nad imarfirant arinia and ethvalian abradongar, ACNAS gunalant jifyachinabri drigdinyan aigwrywai bini y bont, ACNA unalant unri and siberwid or bid twagat na greg na morwine uey bidant. AC08 gunant highway y diskyblian y pethio hynno and fod eu hathrawan, ACYN urban eu singor avido sparth hwynt carat kali eu cleara a carat eurodian, and hoda wrth gerda unant hidem hen y terblined, a dwyn pon fin a charchar and ral wrth fam sifri the fob yn swadogian amant, a dwyn. Y maint a foyneucylcho carat uda wrth gerd, canes gwyrwrth gerd a ddylynt imar for a defodot anos a spy fainad a thangna fedus, a chiphion, a dwyn imadradian tega hodgar ac hediklon, a bod yn gerdig acyn fat acyn jimidoga ethgar, a bod wrth raid ac ecos. Brinan agulad ac arglwide ac inadidu sifarwida okadam how, a carat en hairwed imhob petha unflant, ac unalo en swadogian. Alywar year athroparth ac at en diagiblandiscuidant y gelfidid wrth gerd dafod ai ho bird by nasan, a ho frani a defoda baird wrth fraint a defod year. Hen gymry, hairwid eu do spartho hansot eu hanfod, a ho frani a gendal y gymry, ar defoda av gwibodom oleanus a delaint fod ar goffa gwibod ganfird y gymry, ac a birthin I feared eu gwibod odiscu yn athrai I athgar. AC f a delay discuidant year leagim asterisk ra carat hairwid safi under ei do sparth, ai hisgrifinu yn jifion, a defif gvdidasparth ar driven ysydd ar jiferwidid a dwyn a ka boned ac a birthin, arhynny ofrania, ac f a delay discuidant y driven y dio or ar. Goffa wiper ac a disjur hairwid do sparth ysydd o gain self-edid bard, sefy mod de ddyccwar goff ar gerd acar laf ar acar defod acar lyfr, acf a delay carat ara throfamu a ara unalant y desciblan ai surd. Whatsoever, that they should not frequent any secret, illegal places, that they should not make use of immoral and treasonable charms, that they should form no intimacy with any evil persons, whether male or female, and that they should show no discourtesy whatsoever to either Icarat or maid, wherever they may be. But if they, the disciples, should do these things against the will of their teachers, and contrary to their advice and system, they shall forfeit their minstrelsy and fees, and all the goods attached to their song, until the expiration of 3 years, and bear the penalty of a fine and imprisonment, being tried by the judge. Men of law, and all being officers over them, and divesting them of the amount of goods, which may be attached to their song in their respective circuits. For men of song ought to practice good, sociable, peaceable, and just usages, to use fair, amiable, and pacific speeches, to be kind, obedient, and neighborly, and to be at the necessity and requirement of king, country, lord, and judge, to direct, support, and guide them in all things that they, and their officers, may do. The second duty of the teacher towards his disciples is to teach them the art of vocal song, and all that belongs to it, all the privileges and usages of the bards according to the privilege and usage of the ancient oimri, as to their arrangement, quality, and substance all the privileges of the nation of the oimri, and the commendable usages and sciences, which ought to be remembered and known by the bards of the oimri, and which it appertains to bards to know and to teach dogmatically. He ought also to teach them the oimric tongue, as to the correctness of its arrangement, to write it correctly, to teach the system and order of history, and to trace the descent of nobility, and what belongs to such privileges. He ought also to teach them the order of recording what is known and learned in respect of the system which appertains to that branch of bardic art, that is, the mode of recording in song, speech, usage, and book, and the teacher ought to judge what the disciples do, whether it be vocal song or history, to see that Dafod ai farwided ybo, aguild bod hynny endosparthus, ai werentu areiracy dan ei law. 2 itrydyddyw not refno carat endosparthus argilra ei desciblan, acf a delay immorel yhwynt fisolifo flane pog gwyl agulad ybo defodal I feared westaeth. A cleara ami, fal y may yter gwyl arbanig, agulad nethi or gwr bonhedig o uchel residewinal, agulad gwyl mabsent, agulad gader ac estethvada fo pen pog ter blined, ac indi ybydd rodian argilwide y oith. A chyny gwylau ar guladud hynny delayethra. Farnu ar gerd ei desciblan, aguar unto ar ei era than ei la fo sophion, ai serd dafod ai farwided ybo, a de jos I ba bun I baleyddelo rag mind gormot vr unlhonant, ag nad elofwy nag un idygwro deg punt. Nyflwyddyno bentida. A dauidy uchelra fo ida again punt nyflwyddyno fywyd, acwrthhnyo drivnet wra fai uchi rant, oni wahader yn amgen gan wr ti ophone hedig dialdog, acni wed I fard find at anphonehedig rag ei ligru, acohynnydyno hana ach. In jam acyn amgen nacy delay ei bod. Ni delay un or gwyr hyun wrth gerd dafod find ov ti ydeli I ida ary sintaf trofere year will nu olad nu mabsent hano, hebgenet gwr wrth wahadi at eril, aco guna kali eigilra, acodaodydy raid ywei. Dala fal crwydryn arodi at anghifrithal, hebwerent heb ojerdot, a dwyne igilra adiama, airoiwrth raid whitelodion, aco bruiska fyny olad, nu onuthur ohana un and siberwid eril, kali ei rod igilra, a he nas gwilio urethra ar dangus widima, kali ei fraint ai. Gader hide imhen whiter blined, acnidrhydd ito deskyblin wedi hynnyo anli wadraeth. Such be regular, and to guarantee it upon his word, and under his hand. His third duty is to arrange systematically the strolling minstrelsy of his disciples, and he ought to confer with them a month at least before every holiday and festival, on which it is customary for bards to hold their visitation and go on circuit, such as the three principal festivals, the nuptial feast of a gentleman, who is an innate freeholder, the feast of the patron saint, and the feast of Chair and Estedvad, which is held at the end of every 3 years, and in which gifts from the lord of the territory are presented. Before these holidays and festivals the teacher ought to judge the song of his disciples, to guarantee, upon his word and under his hand, whatever is right, whether it be vocal song or history, and to show every one where he is to go, lest too many of them should go to the same place, and that no more than one should go to the house of a person whose rental is £10 a year, and two to the house of a freeholder, whose property is £20 a year, and in proportion to the house of a person whose rental is higher, unless a different number be invited by the householder, being a proprietary gentleman. It is not becoming that a bard should visit an ignoble person, lest he be corrupted, and hence trace descent unjustly and differently to what it ought to be. None of these men of vocal song should depart from the house he came to at first, whilst the said holiday, or feast, or wake, lasted, at the invitation of another, without the permission of the master of the house, and if he should do so, he shall forfeit his right of minstrelsy. Should he go from house to house, he must be apprehended as a vagrant, and a lawless tramp, without warranty, without authority, be divested of his right of minstrelsy, and placed in the situation of the poor. If he get drunk at the feast, or commit any other act of discourtesy, he shall forfeit his fee and right of minstrelsy. And if the teacher guard not in respect of the particulars here shown, he shall lose his privilege and chair until the end of 3 years, nor will it be lawful for him to have disciples after such irregularity. 16, Quil 39, Am drip hate j dilit carat dwyn adr fard ei rad ai fraint wrth gerd, acnis geller hwynt ida alwaith tra fobYw, centaf m dadrin safrina kajimero amo f, herewid eiswyddai fraint wrth gerd. Ale am fura a chynllwyn a mind yn refelr yny bo arfyne urban hide nas gallo finding and gulad a gorulad wrth raid ac acos gulad ac arglwide, ac ing nghysswy and gulad a gorulad herewid eiswyddai fraint wrth gerd a bardoniaeth, a inod saladim reind oiswine oilad. Brnhanod y oimri. Ard dasparth ysyddarhynny. Trydyddmddyw caratidid elwid yn istig ynei gerd hide nas geller ger eirf, acnis ohana fo raid ac acos yrwng gulad o gorulad, acyn hall ac ateb gulad a chifth, ac o guna fy trip hate hynnnis geller ynei ineos. It offraint anod de wrth gerd a bardoniaeth. 17 o drill whitiner wade ar fard pen ai dirider, sef oi dalkan, acoi fron, acoi arfed, sefhynny o gelod ybywydar inade au rag fana, a brinan y sif they carat itynn a blaine clet ger bron estevod baird, a ger. Bron llys gulad ac arglwide, a llys inad a she frith, a ger bron gulad a gwirin muntir lan ary sulio ing hyphned yter gwyl arbanig, o fun ir sif thebitho, acynoesygwr a dirider feli nis geller ido na braint na nod nac and de pa binago carat ar bid wrth gerde. Bardoniaeth. 18 am drip hate ycyll bard ei fraint a inod de irada asterisk I hoda wrth gerd hidim hen seth mlined, sefm ledrad, ac amodanab, ac amdrin gardot hidim lad, can nis delit y petha hynnar fard. 19 am drip hate ycyllgwrwrth gerd ei rad hide. 16 For 3 things ought a bard to be deprived of his degree and privilege of song, and be rendered incapable of recovering them as long as he lives. The first, for divulging a secret which he holds, in respect of his office and privilege of song. The second, for murder and waylaying, and for enlisting as a soldier, thus exposing himself to weak-hearted pawns, so that he cannot visit country and border country at the call and necessity of country and lord, and in pursuance of a treaty between country and border country, according to his office and privilege of song and bardism, and his protection of feed-rate country in right of a federal treaty between the kings of the Oimri, and the system which appertains to it. The third, for pertinaciously telling a falsehood in his song carried so that his word cannot become paramount, and cannot avail between country and border country, or in any investigation between country and territory. Should he do these 3 things, he cannot, whilst he lives, have privilege, protection, and property in right of song and bardism. 17 From 3 places in a bard is blood to be drawn, when he is degraded, namely, from his forehead, from his breast, and from his groin, that is, from the receptacles of life and the soul, and their vicinities. It is drawn by the king of the territory with the point of the sword before an estedvad of bards, before the court of country and lord, before the court of judge and law, and before the country and people, in 3 churches on the Sundays which occur at the periods of the 3 principal festivals, within the territory where he may be, and, during life, the man so degraded cannot have privilege or protection or any property whatsoever in right of song and bardism. 18 For 3 things will a bard lose his privilege, protection, degree, and all the goods which he possesses in right of song, until the end of 7 years, namely, for theft, adultery, and pugnacity, for a bard ought not to be guilty of these things. Imhenj tir blined, am but indra, am fedwdad, ac am im jingle janu afablakan etvalian a drwg parth ygara hodinir am danant. 20 am drip hate ysyrth bard oathragadi riog irad discyblaeth josephin acai guedo herwid eianaske voldeb, Sintaf mfaiarei gerd nas gallo acnas. Guipo ei diffia, ale mnfod parth iridwina buched na wed ar fard oathra, trydydd li nas gallo gad washinal ei gad air yn urban ei gistad ladian. 21 Tri rhyw gerd or ysydd rydd ident gulra yneu sul code sifrithal q fun vr sifth y bont unwaith ynyflwydd yn. Ac unwaith bob ter blined drwy ho jimru ben baladr. Sintaf yw bard o bensard gadi ariog, ai rod mei gerd nu amgen ag unalo parth eiswydd ai gelfidid yw pedwarugan, li na bo ragamod, a li bo nidrhydd ido urchi dros quagain o rod nu odanai worth yny bid dan kali eigulra ai de wrth gerd, acafo. Gantho ai rodi wrth raid brinan y sifth he gunalo nfot enraith. Alywdysgbl diskyblad de I rod yw pedwarugan os isbas ybydd, os diskyblade inadagain, acos pensardide pedwarugint, acnidrhydd imod n ragphonetig am fomwy hebwarantruid eiathra. Aco guna fhynny, kali eigulra. Pod dysgygbl pensardide yw pedwarugan, ac undith ywfav diskyblian irail parthragamod, can nas delaint y diskyblian famu ara unalant e3 hathra afamid and acnis geller emod heb farnu ara fowrth year emode. Unler. Sefybydd athrakadiriog wrth farn ei gadere inod de I frained herwid ei rad. A dysgyblo bob grade. Until the end of 3 years, for adultery, for drunkenness, and for associating with people of an immoral and bad character. 20. For 3 things will a bard carrot who is a chaired teacher, fall to the rank of primary discipleship, and what befits his illiterateness and immorality, first, for a fault in his song which he cannot, and knows not how to correct, secondly, for immorality in respect of conduct and life. Unbecoming a bard, who is a teacher, thirdly, where he cannot keep and maintain his gear against his fellow competitors. 21. There are 3 minstrels, who are permitted to stroll in their lawful circuits within the territory, in weekly they may be, once a year, and 3 times a year through the whole of Simru universally. The first is a bard, who is a chaired chief of song, the fee due for his song, or any other performance of his office and art, being 80 pence, where there has been no previous contract, and where it is not lawful for him to demand more than 60 pence in the way of fees or chattels, or their value in any form, under the pain of forfeiting his right of minstrelsy, the goods attached to his song, and whatever he possesses, and the same shall be given up in behalf of the king of the territory, where the immoral party shall have committed the wrong. The second is a pupil disciple, whose fee is 80 pence, if he be probationary, if disciplinary, then 40 pence, and if chief of song, 80 pence. It is not lawful to contract beforehand for a greater remuneration without the warranty of his teacher, and if he does so, he shall forfeit his right of minstrelsy. The fee of a chief of song disciple is 80 pence, and in respect of pre-contract the same law stands for him as for the other disciples, for the disciples ought not to judge their own works, but their teacher will judge for them, and there can be no contract without judging what is bound by the contract made. For a chaired teacher is bound by the judgment of his chair, protection, and privilege, according to his de. Fyddwrth farn eiathra. Trydyddyw clenter carat owrnfos meja fo dal nu glof. Rhyddihwnw gulra achanu yneic filhide anis chur I for du amgen. ACNIS delit senate argilwide yoith imgen owyr no hyn gulroli na boident radog adiariog. 22 Ter hall ysYddar fard acnidrhydd idoi rod na carat I rad li nas gunilo yneu herwid ointaf yw sinal kof ar gerd do sparthus am ythridod molianus ti wisigian ac argilwidi, adodian, a diladogensen hwinal, a fob tealing was gendel y oimri, clotted and highway, acer dangos iroesysyddaca. Delir hynn a ddylYnt herewid defod, a gwythred, acymddwyn, acm gaius imhob molianus, atis gac anagaeth, a shinuliad ypethio hynn I gendel ycymry, acerysyd didn't ou gwibid. Alyw oinal year lath gyrari gay I hadisco herewid ei hafad ai hansot ai do sparth I carat ar nebe I glowenico, a disco eilis griffinu yn gyfiana disco ysydd ami im herthenas ei bardonia etha gerd dafod a / I perthenasa. Trydyddyw sinal coffee code, a nethiru, fal nas digwido ledich ar dulu diladoga shinuinal o gendel ygymry. A dwynachy share or noft ach li nas gelur eiddwyno dildoglin a wiper o hanfod cyn kof am dani sefybydd hano ti wisoglwide nu frihir iwath. Hynn rag mind ar ledich ac ailt, ac altude tiog diffraint y fraint ar nod nas delit iddwyno ar bid naman I jimro dildog, nu jim raise jin hwinal. A dwynuk y rag o epil a boned famathad, o gymry sin hwinal he y bofeli braintidi o jim raise jin hwinal year hynnnis gelur I aududs nu I furch o fab ailt, sef nad. Gri, and a disciple of every degree by the judgment of his teacher. The third is the minstrel, who may be a maimed person, such as blind or lame, it will be lawful for him to perform his minstrelsy and to sing standing, until he be requested to do otherwise. The permission of the lord of the territory ought not to be given to other than these to go on circuit, where they have no chaired degrees. 22 A bard has 3 claims, and he is not entitled to his fee or degree, where he acts not according to them. The first is, to maintain in a methodical song the memorial of the commendable deeds of princes, lords, wise men, innate proprietors, and every worthy servant of the nation of the Cymry, for their own praise, and in order to shew the present and future generations what is incumbent upon them in respect of usage, act, conduct, and aim in all that is praiseworthy, for the instruction, promotion, and maintenance of these things to the nation of the Oymri, and for the amusement which arises from the knowledge of them. The second is, to uphold the Cymric language, and to teach it, as to its substance, quality, and arrangement, to such as may desire, to teach the proper writing of it, and to teach what in it refers to bardism, vocal song, and their appurtenances. The third is, to maintain the memorial of genealogies, and nuptial feasts, lest any proprietary and innate family of the nation of the Cymry should happen to suffer degeneracy. The man's descent should be traced from the 9th generation, when it cannot be traced from a proprietary lineage, the derivation of which is known before memory, the same being a princely tribe or a baronial tribe. This is, lest the privilege and protection, which are due to no man whatsoever, except to a proprietary Cymro, or an innate Oymres, should befall the degenerate, the alien, the foreigner, and the unprivileged villain. The woman's descent should be traced on the father's and mother's side, as to posterity and origin, from innate Cymry, such being a privilege to her, being an innate Cymres, which cannot be to a foreign woman, or to the daughter of an alien, for the latter does. Oes I hano fraint Oymres dildog cjdnas a gross merch olt ca ududs ach abond digwrai flant. SEF year akaseo jdalat ddwyn a shinal ar gof a chadway code bond gendal y oimri yn jifi on er gwibid rhwngach a udich, ac amfroder ac audud. ACMAIUT abrahir, ACMHYNN herewid EISWYDDAI gelfitted WRTH gerd I on YWI fard EI rod WRTH fraint a defod, a chiniago bob aradr. Ali nas seer arian dwynga and l, ai radi wrth fam duden gwergolid. Acmhynno ddasparth, im hob nethai or I on a dild bod yn fard wrth fraint oder agorsid, acar arglwide y oifth y mado sparthu hynny, rag mind yn amraint y pumer y radian. ACERAFAII on a dilatus YNHYNNO Bethia y Trefen y dos Barthgentaf ARDDWYN a ka bond. 23, 24, Trip hate adilit ARY neba d weto ei fod yn erwid fard un YW gwibid a ka tai wisigi an a brnhanod, a bondigen y oimri. ALYW oi fairwitted y preferred. TRYDYDDYW guarant o jifi on odnerdata dangos, oirad ai gader, a he boa di weto ei fod yn erwid fard heb ar na y pethio hynn, raid YW idle pound al CRWYDRYNAIROI in jarcher anis guereto arglwide y oift f. 24, 23, trip hate adilit ara di weto ei fod yn brefard. Un YWY gelfitted WRTHG carat RDDAI for the NASA ACYSYDD AMI herewid dos barth baird year HNAGYMRY. ALYW oi fairwid baird YNYS priden, herewid dos barth YSYDDARHYNNY. TRYDYDDYWD fodan molianus a buched I argiwed, ACO fod HYNNY arna, I onida ei gader. 26 Trip hate adilit ara di weto ei fod yn Bosford. Not possess the privilege of a proprietary Jimrays, though an alien or a foreign woman does not corrupt the lineage and descent of her husband and children. For these reasons the genealogical descent of the nation of the Gymry ought to be traced, kept in memory, and preserved accurately, in order to distinguish between noble and mean descent, and in respect of native and foreigner, and of alien and baron. On this account, in right of his office, and the art of his song, a bard is entitled to his fee by privilege and usage, and a penny from every plough, and where money cannot be obtained, he should make a seizure, and submit it to the judgment of 12 men of country. And because of this system, in every nuptial feast it is right and proper that the bard should be under the privilege of a ger and gorset, and it appertains to the lord of the territory to make that arrangement, lest the 5 free acres should lack privilege. It was, in order that these particulars should be conducted rightly and duly, that the system of compiling the lineages of descent was first arranged. 23. There are 3 things required in him who says he is a herald bard. One is, that he should know the genealogies of the princes, kings, and nobles of the Gymry. The second is, the information of the primitive bards. The third is, a properly authorized and exhibited warranty of his degree and ger. He who says that he is a herald bard without possessing these requisites must be apprehended as a vagrant, and put in prison until the lord of the territory gives him deliverance. 24. There are 3 things required in him who says that he is a primitive bard. One is, the art of song and its relatives, and what belongs to it according to the system of the bards of the ancient Gymry. The second is, the information of the bards of the Isle of Britain, according to the system into which it is reduced. The third are, commendable usages and irreproachable conduct. Whoever possesses these qualifications is entitled to his ger. 25. There are 3 things required in him who saya. Unwy gelfitted wrth tiered herwid d chimig for girian ruid y baird di wedar, alyw madruidar lane simrege I hisgrifanu y en berfaith. Trydyddyw madruateba ofaner ida herwid a d wed y dodian. 26. Trip hate adilit ar a d wed o e I fod y en fard o athrak adiri agun yw adilit ar perfard. Alyw adilit ar year wid fardoi trydyddyw adilit ar posford, acobydddhynnymi on yw ida ei rad ai fraint o athrak adiriog. 27. Trill ydalit oinal gad air ac estethvad bairda gwyrwrth gerd dafod athant, sefybyddygwyrwrth gerd dant gad air ao estethvad baird, un yw gadlas edger ingalunai hall, sef tra bydd hall ar year ar, ac injalug ac ing en gwibad golidishanital, herwid defod. A she frith aconibyddd arfer ter blined wedi bod ary he raid yweiroi ar wibad a chlyw golid ac argal wrth ribud sefrith al dan osteg undid a blwyddyn, a shinal y ribud dan osteg fal hynnny dros der blined inadi fodal fydddyueac offraint bair de god air. Alyw lysad argal y jifte ionyed. Gainis leo ed edgert obimir herwid braint ysyd arnant. Trydyddywyunid, sef year egal ysi, sefy bernir y rhini yn edgert ac ingaluni dydd, ac in gwiboda etha chlyw golidishanital ac argalwida gi frith, ac nis geller na guarant nac otterdot, na braint, na ger drps. Gader ac estethvad na dim ac unler wrth gerd dafod parth braint a guarantruid, namen unler yny leo ed edger wrth fraint a defod gulid a she frith. 28. Muntrill y roder rhybydd dan osteg undid a blwyddyn, un yw imhob llys argalwyd ac inade. That he is a post bard. One is, the art of sodg, according to the inventive skill of the later bards. The second is, to be able to read oimrig, and to write it accurately. The third is, to be able to answer questions put to him according to the sayings of wise men. 26. There are 3 things required in him who says that he is a bard, in virtue of being a chaired teacher. One is, that which is required in a primitive bard. The second is, that which is required in a herald bard. The third is, that which is required in a post bard. If he is possessed of these qualifications, he is entitled to his degree and privilege as a chaired teacher. 27. In 3 places ought a chair and estedvad of bards and men of vocal and instrumental song, a chair in the case of men of instrumental song, and an estedvad in the case of bards, to be held. One is, an open yard, in the light of the sun, that is, whilst the sun is in the firmament, and in the sight and knowledge of country and nation, according to usage and law, and unless the place has had the usage of 3 years, it must be submitted to the knowledge and hearing of country and lord by means of a legal notice under the proclamation of a year and a day, the notice being given under such a proclamation for 3 years. The place will then be institutional, having the privilege of bards and chair. The second are, the courts of the lord of the territory and his judges, for they are deemed open places, in respect of the privilege which belongs to them. The third are, the sacred enclosures, or churches, for they are deemed open, and as being in the light of day, and in the knowledge and hearing of country and nation, and lord, and law. There can be no warranty or authority, or privilege, or word, in respect of chair and estedvad, or anything that is done relative to vocal song as to privilege and security, but for what is done in the open places, according to the privilege and usage of country and law. 28 In 3 places is notice to be given under the proclamation of a year and a day. 1 is, in every court of Shefryth, Ale Iwimhablan AC Egelwies YNY Oifth, TRYDYDDYW, Imhab Fair Amarchnad YNY Oifth. ACYNQ Brianai All FYDD Rather YN Nod YRHYBYDDHYNNY Dan Osteg Undida BLWYDDYNACNI Estilat YNEI Urban, Onida Elir CYN Pen Whiter Blined, Harewood Brainy Awadi Foda. Yerhan GYMRY, a Brainy Awadi Foda Baird YNYS Priden, Canes YN Nod YRHYW Rybud HYNNYYD Kerwazant Yerhan GYMRY Pog Brainy Awadi Foda Afob Oifratha GHYFRWYM, Afob Triefnado Sparth WRTH Fraint ACYN Nod Golitaganidal, ARYSYDDAC Afu YN Arfarado Sparthu. Gendal Y Oimri, a BYTHNI Estalad YN Amgen Gan NAG Carat Lad NAC Argalwide NHN Hall NA Grth Hall NAC YNOLAC Eam Raint Ydravnhan ARDO Spart Hugoladaganidal. 29 Tergwarant AC Gad Air WRTH Gerd AC Estedvad Baird YSYDD, OBYDDEI Shinal YN Year Unafuner FOCYFLWYDDOR Li Ed Brianai Al Edgerd. ACYNEI Hamzer Edgert Ingalunai Hall. UNYW Jinghora GHYN GHYD Triwer WRTH Gerd Ofird Gadiariog Harewood Brainted and WD Yerhan GYMRY, New Afont Harewood Brainted Defod Baird YNYS Priden, SEFYBYDD Gare EU Gare Highway Hebidant YN Warrant AR Gerd Dafada Bardonia Ethacia Berthin ARHYNNY Parth Brainy Awada. Foda. ALYW Nod the Brain Tudego Diladogen YN Gyriade Gulida Gifth Dan Ostega RHYBYDD Jifrithal, HYNNO Nod HNA Botri Bard Gadiariogan Jadair, SEF Malpi NAS by on DAU, Nuun, New WYRWRTH Gerd WRTH Hall NA Fuent GYN No HYNNYYN Gadir. IOG. TRYDYDDYW Nod Argalwide Yjifth New DRIOINgnide, ISOs Dweeder Ygeller Nod Oanan Nad GYF asterisk Eth Libo WRTH Rybud Agosteg Jifrithal, a Nod Argalwide Yoith the Elir O Aragafur O Dan Ei Lo YN Oneland seems to be synonymous with the Latin phantom, and the Greek n/Wuvit. Its original meaning was simply an inchmref, but in later times the term was applied exclusively, in its simple form, to an area enclosed for public worship, or a church. Lord, and Judge, and Law. The second is, in every Yuan Karat and church in the territory. The third is, in every fair and market in the territory. Then what is rendered under the protection of the said notice after the proclamation of a year and a day is privileged, and ought to receive no opposition except what may be offered before the end of the 3 years, according to the privileges and usages of the ancient CYMRY, and the privileges and usages of the bards of the Isle of Britain. For it was under the protection of such a notice that the ancient GYMRY began all privileges and usages, every law and contract, and every order and system according to the privilege, and under the protection of country and nation, relative to those who practice and have practiced the arrangements of the nation of the Gymry. And nothing should ever be done either by country or by lord, by claim, or by counter-claim, other than according to, and in virtue of, this order of the systems of country and nation. 29. There are three guarantees and authorities of ger of song and estedvad of bards, if it be held in one or other, as may be convenient, of the open and privileged places, and at its open time in the light of the sun. Point 1 is, the council and communion of three men of song who are chaired bards according to the privilege and usage of the bards of the Isle of Britain, for the testimony of their word, wherever they may be, will be a warrant for vocal song and bardism and whatever appertains to the same in respect of privileges and usages. The second is, the protection and privilege of 12 proprietors, being true men of country and territory, under lawful proclamation and notice, which protection is given where there are no three chaired bards in chair, as if where there are only two or one, or only men of song by claim, who have not been chaired previously. The third is, the protection of the lord of the territory, or of three of his judges. Nevertheless it is said that the protection of one territorial judge will avail, if given under lawful notice and proclamation, and the protection of the lord of the territory will suffice, if warranted under his hand. Warranty dig, li na bo oitram f, aconibydd in new carat ar hall ov tri hynn, nis gelursinal oder ac estedvad de fodal a she frithal, herewid brain to defod year hen gymry. 30. Triamzerod edgerd ysydd, ac arnant rhyddYW sinal gad air ac estedvad, unYdynt tri fripgivned hall, sefydidi aogwyleo trade yu, ydelov hall I gifned sihided y guanwin, ac I gifned herdid half, ac I gifned sihided y mezerid, ac I gifned byrddyddy gov. Lydynt y ter gwyl benijan sefy pask, ar sulgwine, a. Nadolig, trydydydw diddy allys a she frith yny mana, armzer oddyddd, a jin he or y lysid hynny, acnid mon amgen o fan. A ue boecos a raid wrth amzero derail, raid yweu rodi wrth rhybydd dan osteg undid a blwydd yn herewid defod a she frith. 31. O derford y gradir bard, Sintaf YWO deskybleth y ganathra o fard odiariog yny wipo argelfitted wrth grad de cysyd arniparth swydd adild, acyny wipo frani a defoda v baird, av gwiboda urail a berthinant ar fard a bardonia eth, a galu o han. Aateb drosta ei hun he yddelyngrch hal im raint ana di iathra, hynnny na. Grada chader ida. Lyw im raint gwiboda a midru ar gelfitted gerd dafod ai ferthi nasa, a brainy a defoda baird a bardonia eth acysydd arnant, a dangos o hanaganu. Yendo sparthus a difeoi waith ei hunan, a midru o hana darlan simrag yn bur and ithai isgrifanui ido sparthu yn jifi on kinmai o hynnyacnid yn amgen y gelur ei wiboda f heb adisk deskybleth, a gofan ar na yw dangos y pethio hynn oil o flane gad air ac estedvad, a. Li nisgeo urgrathabe, grad a god air ida im raint ei. Though he himself may not be present. And unless there be one or other of these three, an institutional and lawful chair or estedvad, according to the privilege and usage of the ancient Cymry, cannot be held. 30. There are three open times, on which it is lawful to hold a chair and estedvad. Oie is, the three principal periods of the sun, that is, the days, their festivals, and their third days, on which the sun enters the point of the equinox of spring, the point of the long day of summer, the point of the equinox of autumn, and the point of the short day of winter. The second, the three principal festivals, namely, Easter, Whitsunday, and Christmas. The third, the days of court and law, in the places, and at the time of day, where and when those courts are held and in no other place. But where there may be need and occasion for other times, notice of them must be given under the proclamation of a year and a day, according to usage and law. Si. In 3 ways is a bard graduated. The first is, after discipleship, under a teacher who is a chaired bard, until he shall have known the art of song, and what belongs to it in respect of office and duty, and until he shall have known the privileges and usages of the bards, and the other sciences which appertain to bard and bardism, and become capable of answering for himself where he is examined under the privilege and protection of his teacher. Being possessed of these qualifications, he is entitled to a degree and chair. The second is, in virtue of sciences, and from being skilled in the art of vocal song and its appurtenances, and the privileges and usages of bards and bardism, and what belongs to them, and from having exhibited methodical and faultless singing of his own composition, and being able to read Simrag accurately, and to write and arrange it properly, because it is from those things, and not otherwise, that his sciences can accrue without the teaching of discipleship. It is required of him to exhibit all these things before a chair and estedvad, and where there can be no objection, he is entitled to a degree and chair in virtue of his sciences, and Wiboda, hynnal were grad agadar o baladiga eth, nu, dwdiat eril, grad beblig, gan my wrth farnafabluk air ac estedvad, acnid disciblaeth ac athrai grader. Trydyddydw, li nas geller gad air ac estedvad defodal, achynny analytica eth ar farn wrth gerda bardonia eth icobdd agadiarogian, mind ar farn goladiganidal dan rybydd agosteg undida blwyddyn, aco analogratheba mind o jifi under ynei urban, grad ir bard, a shinal yrhydd hano dan osteg undide. Blwyddyn hidem hen whiter blined, in a kadarnha grad da chader, acynhynno fag nis geller areu wibodu ai gelfidid fm gen na barn goladiganidal ai dodian acnis geller dos barth arnant amgen na barn herwid pwyllac and saw de gorfod, ken nas geller amgen na. Hynnico baird acnis geller dos barth o anos barth amgen nagim rain pwyllac and saw de gorfod, orodi wrth farn arath gadarn goladiganidal dan rybydd agosteg gifrithal hidem hen whiter blined. Acynhynno fod y grad y baird sisafinayan y gangendal ygymry, acy trefn y dos barth ar firda bardonia eth ar frani a defoda aweda idin cyn bod na bard nac athra na godair, na dos barth ar dim or bidparth gerd dafada bairda bardonia eth, a. Radhan alwer grad achadair hirrath gadarn goladishanidal raint anod sisafan goladishanidal ygymry. Arath gadarn goladishanidal ygelwer hyno dravhados barth wrthrybydd dan osteg undida blwyddyn, gan mykadarnafo bob rathados barth, aco fod. Amgen nis geller yn jifi on dekrwad ar dravhados barth o asterisk ar bidparth goladishanidal, nacar gifri the chyfrwym. Ihej are called the degree and chair of faculty, or, as it is otherwise said, a faculty degree, since it is by the judgment and faculty of chair and estedvad, and not by means of discipleship and teacher, that he is graduated. The third is, where no customary chair and estedvad can be obtained, and hence there is an impossibility of receiving the judgment of song and poundardaism, through the want of bards and chaired men, by submitting to the judgment of country and nation under the notice and proclamation of a year and a day, and where there can be no objection, or just opposition, then a degree ought to be conferred upon the bard. The said notice ought to be issued under the proclamation of a year and a day until the end of 3 years, when a degree and chair should be confirmed to him. And in this crisis, his sciences and ai*t cannot receive other than the judgment of country and nation and its wise men, and they can have no system other than judgment according to reason, nature, and cogency, because other than this cannot be had from the want of bards, nor can system arise from the lack of system other than in virtue of reason, nature, and cogency, the same being submitted to the firm judgment and verdict of country and nation, under legal notice and proclamation until the end of the 3 years. It was after this manner that the primary bards were graduated by the nation of the Cymry, and the system of bards and bardism, and of the privileges and usages which befit them, before there was either a bard, or teacher, or chair, or arrangement of anything whatsoever relative to vocal song and bards and bardism. This degree is called the long-established and firm degree and chair of country and nation, under the primary privilege and protection of the country and nation of the Cymry. And this arrangement or system, after notice under the proclamation of a year and a day, is called the firm verdict of country and nation, for it is the firmest of all verdicts and systems. There cannot, in any other way, be a beginning properly of any arrangement and system in respect of country and nation, as to law and contract, and NACAR frain to defraud, NAC adnwadu ar dimo carat ar bid guidi y darfo ulwaith dano, MHYNNY odarn ar bob gadarn y bernir y baith AV dusparth han. RBYDDYWI bob dialdoga CHYNHWY dal, a shinyanat o gendal y oimri ei dodi, ni wayath ai safi on ai ang hifi on y bo ei ball, goladaganital ai barn. 32 Trigalogordivnd YSYDDAR feared YNYS Priden, on YW Baird WRTH fraint gat era gorsid, HYNNY a birthin I bob o feared, a redir ing hader AC estethvad, Herwood Wido Spart Hu YSYDDAR HYNNY. ALYW Baird WRTH fraint a defod Baird YNYS Priden, AC a birthin AR a radar YN fart OB Aford Binag Y Bo HYNNY Herwood Wido Spart Hu YSYDDAR HYNNY O Bethiu. TRYDYDDYW Baird WRTH fraint a defod year hen Jim Ru, ACNI for thin HYNNARM gen NA for fart OBRYDYDDSEF year ed FCYN bod YDDWY rad ear AR feared. SEF would fair de phosphir de CHYNN bod NA do sparth NA thrivn NA grad NACENW ident, a CHYN no defod YGYMRYIYNYS. Priden year edident preferred o brididian AC ident frani a defo duado sparth. ACYNYNYS Priden y trefen wide YDDWY rad ear AR feared, AVD dusparth AR gofinian YSYDD arnant, AV brainy a birth inident. AMHYNNYPRYDYDDYN unig nu brefard arbanig ydalit EILA YN fard WRTH fraint a defod year hen GYMRY, Sidbo F ISOs YN fard WRTH fraint gat era gorsid, AC hefid WRTH fraint a defod baird YNYS Priden, a CHYDY gelwer tidane tad ayan, a Rwan hen, a Maydogab. Alchno, a Gadog GWR Gwirin, AC Erdild La Efarog, AC Arian Rod Furch Minewar, YN Feared a Bardessi WRTH fraint a defod year hen GYMRY, NII on EU Galu WRTH fraint a defod Baird YNYS asterisk kin nad edent highway wedi kale EU asterisk Priden seems to have been inadvertently omitted by the copyist. Privilege and usage, nor can anything whatsoever be renewed, when it has once perished. Therefore, firm above all that is firm is this verdict and system adjudged to be, and it is lawful for every proprietor, native, and innate man of the nation of the Cymry, to appeal to it, whether his claim be just or unjust, the country and nation will judge it. 32 There are 3 customary vocations among the bards of the Isle of Britain. One consists of the bards according to the privilege of chair and gorsid, which includes all bards that are graduated in chair and estedvad, in respect of the systems which are attached to them. The second are the bards according to the privilege and usage of the bards of the Isle of Britain, and includes such as are graduated in any way whatsoever, in respect of the system which is attached to those particulars. The third are the bards according to the privilege and usage of the ancient Cymry, which include none other than a primitive bard, being a poet, for he existed carat before the 2 other degrees of bards, namely, the herald bards, and post bards, and before they had a system, or order, or degree, or name. And before the arrival of the Cymry in the Isle of Britain, they had primitive bards, being poets, who possessed privileges, usages, and a system. It was in the Isle of Britain that the two other degrees of bards were appointed, as well as their system and requirements, and the privileges which appertain to them. Therefore, a poet only, or a special primitive bard, ought to be designated a bard according to the privilege and usage of the ancient Cymry, though he may be already a bard according to the privilege of chair and gorset, and also according to the privilege and usage of the bards of the Isle of Britain. And although Tydane, the father of Owen, and Buan the aged, and Medog, son of Alchno, and Cadog the peasant, and Erdile the luminous, and Arianrod, daughter of Minewar, were bards and bardesses, according to the privilege and usage of the ancient Cymry, it is not right to call them according to the privilege and usage of the bards of the Isle of Britain. Decrawad J. Pidio Hynnny. AC isos irale a divident jadalit galu baird wrth fraint a defod baird ynys priden yn feared wrth fraint a defod year hen gymry ecos my gan year hen gymry trefen wide hwynt ynys priden gentaf, sid y geller in orfeared na bont felly acer. Hynnyn feared wrth fraint a defod year hen gymry. AC or RHYWHYNNY delit barnu y pridadian dodian ashiraint a chelfit garagafer trabido gadair AC estethvadiang NGHWSGSEFYPRYDHYNNYNI elir na nod na dild arnant nagidant, naman ayan o dugadil, a barn. Guladitionidal, YNLY buletin baird sisifan sendal YGYMRY OV decrawad, CYN bod am genidant o fraint na defod na dos barth. 33 Trigisphaniade baird ynys priden plenid ac alana gran, sefyn amzer priden abid mar y buant, ar triwer hynn una ethant gentaf drvna dos. Partgifrithal ar feared a bardonia eth ac adodascent amant frania a defodog ad era gorset anod guladitionidal anod cyfrwym salad, anod argalwida chifth. AC ecos y gunat hynn ed arsenal kafa chad wamafugint yn dealan gafa thiling fall arwra. Gwythred, a dithva defod, a deanus emolianus, acer discudothin a bafob gwibodu deanus acer sefnogi arda, a gwaragi rdrwg. A chan wraith guladitionidal than ostega rhybydd gifrithal. A Frieden abid mar yn ben wraith ac yn ben tierned pen y buletin hynn, fal y buletin decrawad yrhywl were baird wrth fraint a defod baird ynys priden. 34 tier nod o fraint ysydd I feared ynys priden. Unyw nod guladiganidal, sefhynnye bumer y radian imraint ei gelfitid aiswydd wrth gerd. Because they did not originate in those times. Nevertheless, others say, that bards according to the privilege and usage of the bards of the Isle of Britain should be caud bards according to the privilege and usage of the ancient Cymry, because it was by the ancient Cymry that they were first instituted in the Isle of Britain, though there may be bards, now who are not so appointed, and yet are bards according to the privilege and usage of the ancient Cymry. Of this kind ought to be deemed the wise, ingenious, and skillful poets, who are found whilst a chair and estedvad are dormant, for at that time they can exhibit no mark or obligation, except awe from God, understanding, and the judgment of country and nation, similarly to what was the case with the primary bards of the nation of the Cymry, before they had any other privilege, usage, or system. 33 The three primary bards of the Isle of Britain, Plenid, Alon, and Grin, who lived in the time of Pridon, son of Ed the Great. It was these three persons that first legally arranged and systematized bards and bardism, and conferred on them the privileges and usages of chair and gorset, the protection of country and nation, the connecting protection of feed-rate country, and the protection of lord and territory. And the reason why this was done was, in order to preserve the memorial and record of what was formerly most worthy and commendable in respect of man and deed, law and usage, and of what was good and praiseworthy, and in order to teach wisdom and all good sciences, and to encourage the good and subdue the evil. This was effected by the verdict of country and nation, and under legal proclamation and notice, Pridon, son of Ed the Great, being supreme of jury and supreme of princes, at the time. Thus did originate the class, called bards according to the privilege and usage of the bards of the Isle of Britain. 34. There are three privileged protections to the bards of the Isle of Britain. One is, the protection of country and nation, that is, his 5 free acres in right of his art and a fob braint go simath. Lywna bo arfynei urban, nacr not ddwynarfynghyrch a go sod rifle. Trydyddyw bod gar eir far bob, ac gar do neb ar na f. Ale nod yw nod oifruim salad, sef bod rhydd ido finding and gulad agorulad heb ynei urban nag arfna gorfod, na gar na grthe yn hetuch ayn rifle y bo y guladad year elo. Sefhynny mal y gallo find yn bo raid juru hetuch chifi under yrhwng y guladad a fithant yndw rifle a chynllwyn nail ary hall. Trydyddd nod yw nod ei gadair, sefy neb yddelynei nod hi nidos naman barn gerei bron ai denod, ac odiaca ethnei nod hi rhydd fidi, ac I bob y may mind ynei nod kale adiska deal ar wiboda acar unilo feli ni elir eifan yn raid gulad. Acr glwyd yn amgen nac a wipo ac foi onido wrth gerd a bardonia ethkin my rain dysgybl bardacher dafod y saif f. Cans on I farda fino jura adiska gwiboda chifi under a thangnef ar uladishanidal, acar ulada gorulad, acer goladaga eth petha hynny dod ysydd herwid do spart hu ar farda bardonia eth. 35 Tri-Baird lean o brifird wrth fraint a defod baird year han gymry affuant jintaf ov hanfod au hansot, sef ed int taliesin ben baird ummerden of morfrin, ummerden emrys, sef ogelwer y tri-frifird lean amunuthur o honant lifrau ado spart huis scrifenetig ary gelfitted wrth gerd ac a birthinity, ac im raint. Eu afru highway, ac im raint defod a chof oder ac estevod y masinal bardonia eth baird ynys Pridon. Office of Song, and every privilege of viaticum. The second is, that there shall be no weapon against him, and that he shall not bear a weapon in the march and onset of war. The third is, that his word shall be a word superior to all, and that the word of nobody shall be superior to him. The second protection is the connecting privilege of a feed-rate country, that is, that he shall be permitted to go into country and border country, opposed by neither weapon nor force, neither word nor contradiction, whether the countries which he visits shall be at peace or war. This is done, that he may be enabled to go, as necessity requires, to introduce peace and justice between the countries which bring war and ambuscade one against the other. The third protection is the protection of his chair, that is, whoever defers to its protection cannot, except by judgment before it, become unprotected, and should a bond appeal to its protection, he shall go free, and all are allowed to be under its protection, in order to obtain instruction and understanding in sciences. Of him, who is thus circumstanced, nothing can be asked in the service of country and lord, other than what he knows, and what befits him in respect of song and bardism, for it is in right of a bardic disciple and vocal song that he stands. And a bard may adopt what course he pleases to impart instruction, sciences, justice, and peace to country and nation, and to country and border country, and it was for facilitating these things, that what exists, in respect of the systems of bard and bardism, was appointed. 36 The three literary bards, being primitive bards according to the privilege and usage of the bards of the ancient Cymry, who first derived their essence and quality from them, namely, Taliesin, the chief of bards, Myrddin, son of Morvran, and Myrddin Emrys. That is, they are called the three literary primitive bards, because they made written books and arrangements of the art of song, and what appertains to it. And it is in virtue of their books, and in virtue of the usage, and memorial of chair and estedvad, that the bardism of the bards of the Isle of Britain is to be. AC Aberthinant Arhynny. AC Nidrhydd Cadair Na Grad Vr Neb Na Bogantho Gyferwidid Odirth Y Tri Frifird Lena Enwid, a Midre Reu Lifruona Ethant Highway, yn Gintafesian EU Beth. 36 Ter Dilds Wide Arbanig Ysyddar Duli Ir, yny he Ybo, Discudarl Lane AC Iscrifinavi Lath Grimrig, Discusiberwid tu Ladda Defoda Daenis Hairwid Safi under a Charidad a Chad Wkoff am a Berthin Tr2 Lured Ybo Ephithroident. 37 Trip 8 Ysyddar Fard Nu Brydyddfo Irchiad, Jintaf Nad Arco Na Dim Eril O Carat Ar Bid Ar Gerd Dafod Heb Gened Y Perchinog, Ale Nad Arco Dros Gwerth Quagain O Dim Yny Bid. Trydydnas Danfo No Gerd Archiad, NAC Unregerd Eril 6 T Bid Guida GWRWRTH Gerd Dant, Dan Bone Kali Eida WRTH Gerd Hidem Hen Ter Blined, a Fob Roda Go Simatha Delitida O Frainta and Irgl Wide Y Sifth. 38 Trikrayer Bridubaird Ynys Priden Y Den Gerdith Evangel Le Uina De Weeded O Fard Arei Guide Wibbid. 39 Trip 8 Ysyddac Danant Ysu Bard Ei Gadair Hidim Hen Ter Blined. Un YW Gwal Koffa Chadway Ara Delay Ale YWDWYNARFYN Rifle TRYDYDDYW Ung Hadwi Irin. AC Irail Avedant NIS Jeller Adwedida O Igadair YNEI Ineos O Guna FY Pethio HYNN. 40 Tri Un Benguladoga Eth, Bardonia MH Carat ACARHYNNYY May Adiska Fabathrai I8th Lena Dithvoldeba Dwifold Ebtonide I8th. ACARHYNNYY Mado Sparthu Ajura Bama Chifi under, YNY Boakos, Hairwood Brainy Awa Defoda Goladishanital, AC Hairwood Iona She Frith, ARA. ELOYNEU Herban. Tywisiga Eth Nu Argal YD I8th ACAR. Maintained. Nor is a chair or degree granted to anyone who has no information derived from the said three literary primitive bards, and skill in the books which they made, being the first of their kind. 36 There are three special duties incumbent upon a family bard, wherever he may be, to teach the reading and writing of the Cymric language, to teach domestic politeness, and good manners, in respect of justice and love, and to keep a record of what belongs to the families in which he is tutor. 37 There are three things required in a bard or poet, who is a supplicant. First, that he should ask neither goods nor anything else whatsoever by means of vocal song, without the permission of the owner. Secondly, that he should not ask for anything above the value of 60 pence. Thirdly, that he should not send a supplicatory song, nor any other song whatsoever, with a man of instrumental song, under the pain of losing the goods attached to his song until the end of 3 years, and every fee and provision, to which he is privileged, shall go to the lord of the territory. 38 The three relics of adjuration of the bards of the Isle of Britain, the 10 Commandments, the Gospel of John, and the affirmation of a bard upon his word and conscience. 39 There are three things for which a bard will lose his chair until the end of 3 years. One is, defect of memorial and record in respect of what ought to be remembered. The second is, bearing a weapon in war. The third is, divulging his secret. Others say, his chair cannot be restored to him during life, if he does these things. 40 The three monarchs of government, bardism, to which belong learning, and every doctrine of literature, morality and godliness, judicature, which has to distribute and do judgment and justice where there is occasion, according to the privileges and usages of country and nation, and according to right and law, to those who may oppose them. And the office of a king or lord, on which depends the HYNNJRY may am diffelfine guladitionidal adosparthu arini o beth hairwood brain to default guladitionidal, ACOBYDD acos hairwood wraith gulad dan RYBYDD agosteg deganid. AO hebwy tri HYNNNIS gelur siphonet gadam AR oladishonidal. 41. Trim W gorwisk bard o athrocadiriog, RHYDD ido year unafino, sid y bo carat r wisk hano pa unbinago vo wio y bo yngwbl jifun li, SEFY sifun li yn erwid mriant SEF sifun li HWNNW bob amzer AC imhob dam. Wayne un YW asur, nu los aur, yn erwida hetucha thangnef YNLI aur hinan haf, YNN he's egler is blended hebnil heb GWMMWL. ALYWGRWYRDDYN erwid DYSG adothinab gwiboda adard dant AC a defont YN hard fal gwerd lijo armusid YN high frigga perchinugatan GW61. TRYDYDDYW gwyn YN erwid dwifold ebifob per a diewed, a fob I on a chifion, canes y rain a fident YN gifli hall a goli uni YN disculwin is blended. A gwinadilat ei wiskopan YDD eller YNGHYRCH gali quid. AR asirpan YDD eller ing hader agorsid DBTGWYRDD, he DD eller YN athra tuluade, SEF imhabun or lidio HYNNY saif y sifun li YN erwid GMR. AENIDRHYDDIM gen NA bard gadiari agi gwiska, ACNIDI onida EUCYMMYSG, ACO guna FHYNNY im rained AC erdas DYSGYBLAI simarir, cans OV triliter HYNNYN ajimisk YBYDD gwisk DYSGYBLAC in DNIDI on unlit aral OV bid, AR lidio bardaniad Y gelwer Y rain. 42 Tri swadu sisafinayan bard sinal hetucha thangnef sinal aguelhati foda dayanus karat a shinal kof am dayanai agwiboda, aguithridod molianus. 43 Tirdath Josephin YSYDDAR Fard Parth AC et Unalo ei Hunkad we I Irkad we I Jifrin a Chad Whed. Fence of country and nation, and the arrangement of the same, according to the privilege and usage of country and nation, and if there be occasion, according to the verdict of country under the notice and proclamation of 40 days. Without these three there can be no firm social abode for country and nation. 41 The robe of a bard, being a chaired teacher, is of three colors, and he may adopt whichever he pleases, provided the robe, of whichever of the colors it is, be entirely unicolored, for unicolor is the symbol of truth, that being unicolored at all times, and under all circumstances. One is azure, or sky blue, signifying peace and tranquility, which are similar to the sky of summer weather, during clear and resplendent heat, without mist, without a cloud. The second is green, the symbol of learning and the wisdom of sciences, which spring and grow beautifully like the green herbs of the fields, rejoicing the owner of the eyes that behold them. The third is white, the symbol of godliness and all purity and innocence, and all right and justice, for these are of the same color as the sun and light, glitteringly and splendidly white. White ought to be worn in the resort of worship, azure in chair and gorset, and green, when one becomes a domestic tutor. And each of these colors should be unicolored, as significative of truth. Nor is it lawful for other than a chaired bard to wear them, and it is not right for him to mix them, but should he do so, it must be under the privilege and dignity of a disciple, because the robe of a disciple consists of the three colors. Mixed, and should not admit of any other unicolor whatsoever, and these are called the bardic colors. 42 The three primary offices of a bard, to maintain peace and tranquility, to maintain and improve good usages J and to maintain the memorial of goodness, sciences, and laudable deeds. 43 There are three primary laws incumbent upon a bard in respect of what he does himself, to keep his word, to keep his secret, and to keep the peace. 44 Tirdath vocal JSYDDAR Fard, Gachal diogeathra usgid kan my gwrywwrth im gaius ac im broth gachalson and ashira said kan may gwrywfwrth garat athangnef gachals blinab ac and voldeb ac anadwinder, kan my gwrywf, wrth bwyll adil ac ano. Duh. 45 Ter sale gwiboda eth delay bard eu hysteria a carat utrafod pwyll and saw de gorfod. 46 Ter throiatha ofanir ganfard, can wrth bwyll adothin of dithvala ufr herewid kafa defod gorsid agali quad. Acymddwyn herewid defoda shinethva adwina dayanus. 47 Trip hate ni delay brydydd ofard gadi udwyn arfa, anfos, ac and fall. Cans swyddr na yw juru hetucha thangnefa chatham how adwinder, amolian upog dayanus. 48, Trip hate molianus ar fard, circogruid grisiki honder arafa phwyll im scar. 49 Trip hate nis geller eu hepker ar fard, an wrth gerd gwiboda ar gelfitted wrth gerd, a shinethva adwini and a dayanus. 50 Tri chyflwydd barda bardonia eth, adwine ha aguira na sendal siphonetagulata gwelha gwiboda. 61 Tri dine nis bident wrth gled nac wrth gom, bard, ferilt, abini. 52 Ter selfitted affident yn na de cwrth dith baird sendal ycymry. Gerd dant lenitieth sef darl lane simrege I isgrifinu aridi ginieth. 53. Trifine gulad, argalwideneth vol jifthog disifid, a bard and wibodas. 64 Trip hate anferth ar fard, an wiboda eth an hinozder ac and eth voldeb. 55. Trip hate ni vedent ar gerd dafod fardoniad. 44 There are three laws of avoidance incumbent upon a sard, to avoid idleness and extreme slothfulness, since he is a man of exertion and experience, to avoid strife and contention, since he is a man of love and peace and to avoid folly, immorality and uncourteousness, since he is a man of reason, understanding, and awe from God. 45 There are three foundations of knowledge, which a bard ought to consider and discuss, reason, nature, and impulse. 46 There are three instructions required of a bard, a song according to reason and moral wisdom, oral tradition according to the memorial and usage of gorsid and worship, and demeanor, according to polite and good usages and habits. 47 Three things which a poet, being a chaired bard, ought not to bear, arms, rudeness, and dispraise, for it is his function to promote peace and tranquility, to encourage courtesy, and to praise everything that is good. 48 Three things commendable in a bard, warm affection, gentle boldness, and energetic reason. 49 Three things which cannot be dispensed with in a bard, awe of song, the sciences of the art of song, and courteous and good qualities. 50 The three successful objects of a bard and bardism, to polish and civilize a nation, to render a country socially inhabitable, and to improve sciences. 51 Three persons who are exempt from sword and horn, a bard, a metallurgist, and a female. 52 The three arts which are under the protection and law of the nation of the Cymry, instrumental song, literature, that is, reading and writing oimreg, and medicine. 53 The three penalties of a country, a wicked lord, a rich upstart, and an ignorant bard. 54 Three things monstrous in a bard, ignorance, incivility, and immorality. 55 Three things which ill become a bardic vocal song. Uf m anfidac anferth lagridiga ethdith vasiberwid, agrthlad didnwch. 56 Trip hate nidoeslyneu herben. Defod kader. Lafara chof kader, a hengard wrth fraint kader. 57 Tridine nis geller, ac nis delit baird o honant, balch diog karat akelwidog. 58 Trip hate and hepker ifard, an o du adiskathra ac im gaius ei hunan. 59. Trip hate nis delay dor ofard kadiri agi datrin, sifrinik baird, gwir rg wedus agward husder ei fail. 60 Trijo el dor tafadul dual guidura ohoil ymbwyll. 61 Tri shifrancis barserd ayan, dysg, a shinyad fadayanus, ac hebdint nis geller serd berfaith. 62 Tri imbliwed bard, imbliwed ar gwir achifion, imbliwed ai galan ai searchiadau ac imbliwed ai an ai aletiga etha. 63 Tri fethadilat eu deal au gwibid ar gerd dafod ai ferthin asa ac ar bob peth arilo asterisk ar bid. Sefydynt banogian, adphanogian ac ammonogian. Ali nas gwiper y rain nis geller na dos barth nhl fitted jifi on ar dim ov bid, sefou gwibit o deal ykr deal ar and sod y gel fitted ydd im gyca a high, acy gunir trifna dos barth arni, fal y bohad de circo gi discuai. Kofio ai himarfer. 64 Trifeth and Hepker ar bob selfitted agwibidi iath. Ei discu, ei kofio, ai himarfer. 65 Trip hate ni geller dafod hebdint, gwiboda eth carat ayan, a shinurfiad. 66 Tri shinurfiad search twag et hardida. The memorial of what is impious and monstrous, the abuse of law and courtesy, and resistance to amusement. 56 Three things which cannot be contravened, the usage of chair, the voice and memorial of O'Hare, and an ancient song according to the privilege of O'Hare. 67 Three men who cannot, and ought not to be made bards, the proud, the indolent, and the false. 58 Three things indispensable in a bard, awe and from Grod, the instruction of a teacher, and individual exertion. 69 Three things which a songster, being a chaired bard, ought not to reveal, the secret of the bards, injurious truth, and the disgrace of his friend. 60 The three credibilities of a vocal minstrel, the credibility of song, the credibility of alphabet, and the credibility of consideration. 61 The three co-equal secrets of song, awen, learning, and good principles, and without them there can be no perfect song. 62. The three mutual feelings of a bard, to feel mutually with truth and justice, to feel mutually with his heart and affections, and to feel mutually with his awen and its capabilities. 63 Three things which ought to be understood and known in a vocal song and its appurtenances, and in every other thing whatsoever, namely, points, divisions, and individualities. And when these are not known, there can be no arrangement or just art in respect of anything, whilst by knowing and understanding them, the nature of the art sought after is understood, and is reduced to order and method carried in such a way as it would be an easy and loving matter to learn, remember, and practice the same. 64 Three things indispensable in every art and science, to learn, to remember, and to practice them. 65 Three things, without which there can be no vocal song, knowledge, awen, and impulse. 66 The three impulses of song, affection towards the beautiful and good, the consciousness of duty, and remue. Ionas, sidewibododder dilda gabro geda shen molieth oinyan de dothan ebgar. 67 Tri ragarold eb selfitted, sef hosder ei disku y didn't 6 asterisk I disku, Eliza buddy old eb o I diskby. 68 Tri fethunant y gelfitted wrth gerd y peth y dile fod eglerd eb dysg ados barth godi dowgruid y gelfitted ai dos barth, ac on ion old eb y gelfitted ai for the nasa. 69 Tear brained bard. Coelio ei air ai vadiat oisima ev man yddelo carat ac nad elo and fod wrth rata swydd golid, 70. Trip hate y delay fard eu qualia arnant, ein widau, ei ferry I josephin carat a fob nuid.eb. 71 Trip hate y delay thra o fard aengar eu gunuthur, man graphu rymbwyll selfitted, man disparthu ar a dealer. A mandangos ar a disgeo. 72 Tir saneth vidilat ar fard, bod yn athra'i eighthgar bod yn helionis barn acymbwyll abod yn dithval fuked. 73 Trifeth y de lafard darim gaius eu gwelha athrelith on all gelfitted wrth gerd jin hethva buched. 74 Trip hata una brydydd diski dig, gwelha adiska gwiboda sifon etigolidishinatal agunuthur enwei hun yn dragwidal. Aiafuri kof tragwidal meinwei hun. Eaw athragwidoli enwei hun. 75 Mun trip hate y gwilir and sod pob selfidida gwiboda. Sefyneu hagwidorian yneu cypherbinyide acyneu pyriada. 76 Tier bud selfidida gwiboda, inila fodayanus ympryd bywyd guard raga fodrwgo digwid, in ms. It is 77, and the following triads are numbered accordingly down to 84 inclusive. Duration from the contributions and commendation of good and philosophical men. 67 The three excellences of art, namely, the facility of learning it, the amusement of learning it, and the benefit and advantage of learning it. 68 three things that will make the art of song what it should be, perspicuity of learning and arrangement, the excellency of the art and its arrangement, and the naturalness of the art and its appurtenances. 69 The three privileges of a bard, that his word and saying should be believed, provisions wherever he goes, and that he should not against his will be made to administer to the necessity, or to fill the office of country. 73 Things which a bard ought to examine, and watch over, his passions, his innate judgment, and every novelty. 71 Three things which a teacher, being a poetic bard, ought to do, to observe accurately the reason of art, to analyze accurately what is understood, and to show accurately what is learned. 72 The three primary laws which ought to be incumbent upon a bard, to be fond of teaching, to be liberal of judgment and reason, and to be moral as to conduct. 73 Three things which a bard ought to endeavor to improve, his poetic genius, his art of song, and the principles of his conduct. 74 Three things will make a learned poet, to improve learning and sciences, to promote the sociable inhabitation of country and nation, and to make his own name immortal. Others say, and to cause his own name to be everlastingly remembered. Others say, and to immortalize his own name. 75 In three things is seen the nature of all arts and sciences, namely, in their principles, in their counterparts, and in their effects. 76 The three advantages of art and sciences, the gain of what is good in respect of abstinence and living, deliver. Ofedwal, acoy thread, a harduch dos parthas didno medwula galug. 77 Tir kalaf dilds wide bard, londiska long ganu ac lon famu. 78 Tir faith ayan jifion, helion I carat guerina bayuanid. 79 Tri chifion ayan jifion, deal, isterieth, ac mind. 80 Trip hata jin hident ayan, hi on arfer eumynych arfer elwidiant oi harfer. 81 Trip hate niddYly surdor eu credu, gogan clearhi y prido prydydd, achanu angered obrydyd canmo ledig ag ajardadida, av petha nilant fod herwid y dodian, megis a ddy wedano ethion nas stilit rodi gwalda dorerhi ai kafalefo yiradar, arcyfryw bethiu. Aferchwedli nas kafwid ariod o ben dotha dialis carat acyn unria hynnnyw credu na fuent furu nac arthur nac owen glyndyfrdwy, acnis geller my gwir hynnny. 82 Drip hate ycyllbrydydei ajardad, cam discolai ydalai on ddysgd weeded selwid arei gerd yn istig, agaganuhi nas dalit. 83 Trip hate niddYly surdor eu selu, quiriant dire gwed, a barn ar gerdred ethiclad dilatus dinayan da 84. Trip hate aberrant garu surdor discu en williger canu yn garadajara dwy en gerda. 85 Tir hard gamp ar gurdor, Sanildeb, Sifundeb, Akivirdeb. 86 Trip Hateserchog ar gurdor, Bod yn Didangerth, Bod yn Difulch, AC Imar for Aclodford. Asterisk in Mizit is 86, and the following triads are numbered accordingly to the ants from what is bad in regard to contingency, mind, and deed, and regular beauty to cheer the mind and sight. 77 The three columns of a bard s duty, to teach properly, to sing properly, and to judge properly. 78 The three effects of just awen, generosity, gentleness, and joy. 79 The three friends of just awen, understanding, reflection, and patience. 83 Things that will augment awen, to exercise it properly, to exercise it frequently, and to exercise it successfully. 81 Three things which a songster ought not to believe, the satire of an itinerant minstrel, where a poet poetizes, in some poetic song by a commended and authorized poet, and the things which, in the estimation of wise men, cannot be, as when the ignorant say that the hair which is cut ought not to be placed where the birds can get it, and such vain superstitions that never came from the head of a wise and intelligent person. Of the same character is it, to believe that neither Arthur nor Owen Glyndwr are dead, for such cannot be true. 82 For three things shall a poet lose his authority, for teaching wrongly where lie ought to teach correctly, for pertinaciously uttering a falsehood in his song, and for tirizing where he ought not. 83 Three things which a minstrel ought not to conceal, innocuous truth, judgment upon poetry, and the praise due to good men. 84 Three things that will make a minstrel to be beloved, to teach willingly, to sing lovingly, and to bear a good name. 85 The three beautiful qualities in a minstrel, economy, concord, and integrity. 86 Three things that are amiable in a minstrel, to be poetically amusing, to be void of pride, and to be given to. 87 Trip hate aligrant aen dortrum tragadina basarugruid. 88 Trip hate a l aen dor hengard bardonia ethagadwidiga ethaudaeanus adidin. 89 Trifrif Gifriadia bard guibodato sparthastith voldeb cariadus a brained gorsid. 90 Tir hard gamp ar fard, Yufud dod disguidia athe, circogruid. 91 Tir kalafn selfitted pwyll ansod, agorfod, aci ondial aryrhyhnny makademid guibodat. 92 Tri hod garuchadilit ar farda phrydydd, Sifarwadaang hyferwid talu amrizan, a thrufnu ar querun goladater. EAW. A thrufnu ar querugampa goladater. 93 Trip hata delayfod ar bob querun. Lach avi korf, didna ar medwil, abod yn diewed. 94. Tri tha ediga eth bard, ar wyriant rg wedus, ar farn afraid, acar bob and hispies.